It's better with you.
Welcome, COD fans, to what we're calling the Call of Duty Mobile Roundtable. Spoiler alert, there's no table, and if there was one, it probably wouldn't be round. On my whole shift, with me, I've got the legendary, illustrious, and relatively handsome Bobby Plays. I've also got Hippo with me, and of course, the now Indian COD Mobile sensation, Tectonic. Gents, starting with Mr. Bobby Plays, how we feeling, my guy?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited to get COD Mobile Esports action up and running. It's been a little bit of a dry spell, but there's a lot to talk about and a lot that's getting started up in the month of March, so it should be a lot of fun.
Should be a lot of fun. Gigabrain Hippo, legendary coach, all-star dresser. What are we feeling?
Yeah, no, I think, same sentiments as Bobby. Overall, I think we're just going to have an incredibly exciting season. There's so much to look forward to, and a lot of announcements that have been made about the changes that are going to happen in COD Mobile as a whole. So super excited to talk about all of this.
Tech, the one pro player here on the board. Bobby didn't qualify, so it's just you?
I mean, I didn't qualify either if we're talking about that, man.
Is that true?
Bobby made it further than me,
fair.
bro.
I tried to get Tech. I actually talked to Tech when we were streaming together, and I said, if we make it to the next stage of the competition, like, how much do I have to pay you for you to join Bobby Bucket's Dino Nuggets? But unfortunately, we never reached that point.
It's a legendary team name, by the way. It's a legendary team name. Let's just kind of kick the conversation off because Season 6 obviously is all right in the forefront of our minds. We've got global action starting up. And with that, every year we always look at a brand new map pool. And I kind of want to start with that. Maps that are out, new maps that are in. Hippo, I kind of want to go to you first on this one. How do we feel about, let's just start with the Hardpoint map pool. How do we feel about Summit, Hacienda, Apocalypse, Arsenal, Slums?
Oh my, I think that there's a lot of, kind of old memories flooding back in. There's a lot of nostalgia in some of the previous seasons, such as, Slums coming back in. But we also see some mainstays that are, still sticking around, such as Summit and also Apocalypse from last season. So I think it's an incredibly interesting map pool, especially now that we have some iconic maps that are back in, while also having some maps that, have been notoriously known to be both strengths for certain Eastern teams and then strengths for Western teams in terms of performances across the board at major international events such as Masters and the World Championship last year. So overall, I think it's a super exciting map pool. It seems to be very, very balanced in terms of just the size of the map pool as a whole. Pretty relatively stable across the board with a couple exceptions just here and there. So I think but I think there are the nuances of the map that every team is going to want to explore to see, what is going to be their strengths and weaknesses across the board. So it'll be super fun to see how the Hardpoints pan out.
How about you guys? Bobby, Tech, Hardpoint map pool, what are we feeling?
You go ahead, Tech.
I hate Summit, man. I will die on this hill, bro. I'm an AR playing Summit. Why? Why is this in the map pool? Look, Summit has some of the worst spawns, in my opinion, until they came out with this new map pool. Because the Arsenal spawns and the Slum spawns, they have no consistency whatsoever. So I enjoyed the maps, but I'm looking forward to the spawns points kind of getting reworked. But yeah, I removed Summit.
I know from what I've heard, obviously I play the game, but Arsenal Hardpoint is not in ranked, and we never really scrimmed it whenever we were getting ready for SPS. So Arsenal, it was just like a permaban for us because from what we had heard, the spawns were definitely still an issue there. So hopefully we do get a little bit of a rework before the main portion of the season comes up. But I enjoyed the rest of them. I wish we would have gotten to play Slums more because I feel like that's a really underrated Hardpoint map. I know the spawns can get wonky at some points, but for the most part, that's one that I really enjoy the flow of. So overall, I like it. I'm glad that they added Hacienda back in as well. That's one that I think was definitely missing for last season, and is just such a good. Actually, was Hacienda in the last season?
It was.
It was? Okay. Maybe we just didn't get to see it quite as much, but Hacienda is definitely one that I guess maybe because I don't ever play it in rank, going back to that was definitely a lot of fun to play.
Fair. Search and Destroy is the interesting one, I think, this year for the map pool because Tunisia, staple. Firing range, staple. Standoff, staple. Kurohana returns, Coastal gets added, and I know that Coastal has been a staple of the Eastern Hemisphere and a lot of their events, but now we're going to see it globally. Any thoughts about Coastal being added into the map pool for the first time in the Western space?
You can wall bang.
I think
everything,
Coastal's
bro.
really good. Oh, go ahead, take.
You can just wall bang everything on that map, bro. It's unreal.
Fair enough.
It's a good map. I like it.
I like it as a map. I think the flow of it's good. I think it is very balanced on both sides, and never really felt like it was super one-sided on offense or defense. So I really like the flow of it. I wish we would have seen maybe a couple more changes, because I think it was only one map that really got changed for the search and destroy map pool, but I think Coastal was a good addition as far as what the possible options were.
Hippo?
I think with Coastal, it's definitely a good map. I think even though on the competitive side, we've seen a lot of Eastern teams get to play it, it has been in the ranked pool for quite a bit of time now for Search and Destroy. So I think that, players who have played S&D in ranked are going to be somewhat familiar to this. So I don't think we can necessarily count out the Western Hemisphere altogether in terms of familiarity. But at the very least, this does make it so that now the East has a map, at the very least in the early season, where they're going to have a distinct advantage over the West. But the overall design of the map, I agree, is fairly balanced. My personal take is that it's slightly leaning towards defense, but I think it is one of the more balanced maps overall, for sure.
I think, looking at the map pool, the one that I always kind of selfishly root for is Express to be involved.
Yeah.
It's an absolute classic. I know that there is some cheese that comes with it, but I love the map. So a little interesting to not see it be a part of the year this year. And then Control, Raid, Takeoff, we know those. Crossfire, just out of nowhere. What do we feel about Crossfire? Bobby, you got a smirk on your face as wide as Texas.
We very intentionally did not play Crossfire either, just because I haven't heard good things about it. I think it suffers from a lot of the problems that we had with last year's Control map additions. And really, I think the biggest thing that needs to be addressed with the addition of Control maps is the tweaking of spawns before they make their way into the competitive map pool. I think part of the reason that 2 years ago it worked as well as it did is because we did actually get some changes to the spawn points for Standoff, and for Raid. Not as much for Crossroads, but still less spawn trap heavy than the addition of Seaside and Arsenal. And from what I've seen, it is a lot of the same issue with Crossfire as well. Crossfire, just in general across the community, is not like what I would consider a beloved map, because it's kind of toxic for the majority of game modes. So that's one that I anticipate we probably won't see a whole lot in the competitive season.
Hippo, thoughts from a strategic standpoint?
Yeah, I think that Crossfire is a map that has been notorious. I've seen the East actually play this at some point with regards to Control specifically, if I recall correctly. I know that the Chinese teams played it before, and I know at the same time that in the early seasons of CDM, if I recall correctly, like the very beginning. And, it was used in Search and Destroy, and there's a lot of nostalgia from back then. But as a Control map, it's just very awkward because of the fact that there are some very distinctly strong choke points that exist in the map that allow for some really, really disgusting spawn traps to happen. It's honestly worse than Seaside that's just my humble take when it comes to spawn trapping ability. Like, if you're just able to get a control of certain places in the map, then you're kind of golden. You're just taking out like 10 lives just independently from that. So
Tech, have you felt those things from the player perspective? Do you feel like there's just natural spots that just become almost impassable?
I'm gonna be honest. This map was in the map pool the 1 year I lost the regionals, so it's not looking good this year, But actually playing the map, I feel like this map for Control in particular is actually really good. The only thing that is bad, in my opinion, is obviously the spawns, because if someone, let's say if everyone was to push A, someone just leaks through the deli side, they get in your spawn, you're gonna spawn in front of them no matter what. There's no split spawns that'll put you inside of a building or something for some sort of cover, no matter what. I feel like Control needs a rework for spawns in particular. But the map itself, I feel like it's pretty well balanced. You could understand where everyone's going. You have to use utilities and maximize it to the most in order to get to where you want to go. It's not something where you just brain dead run through and like it's going to work.
That's totally
I think
fair.
I think at the very least with this map, like there's going to be a lot of complaints about the map because of the fact that people are getting spawn trapped all the time due to the design of the spawn itself. However, what I think is really good about this map, and the one upside that I personally like over Seaside and honestly over most of the maps in this pool, is that it really tests the fundamentals and basics on both on individual level in terms of a player, because there's so many spots that you have to constantly be checking, so many corners, so many places you can get sniped from, and so you have to be constantly looking for all of these, making sure that you use your utilities at the right points and at the right places, that you throw your smokes, etc., at the right spots. But then the second thing is, as a team, just having just the basic good macro of control, just being able to make sure that you cover your lanes, you don't get too heavily focused on one side, because if you do, then you can allow for a leak to happen that allows for these really bad spawn traps to happen. So
now, this is kind of an off-the-wall topic. Follow up on this, but I think it's intriguing, so why not just throw it out there, see what you guys have to say. Over the last handful of years, I think we all have come to grips with having only 3 maps in control. There typically is always one that
I can feel it in my bones, yeah. I can feel it in my bones. I've been waiting for this moment. All my life I've been waiting. Ain't nothing gonna hold me down. Ain't nothing gonna stop me now. 'Cause I was born for this moment. I was born for this moment. Everybody said I was crazy for believing. Told me to give up, there ain't no shame in me losing, but they're wrong.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the United States Air Force.
Let the weak
Prime time, baby.
Looks like the players are ready. Here we go!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series. It's time for another week of our challenge season for Call of Duty Mobile here in North America. And week number 2 is going to be just as exciting as what we saw last time around. My name is Glitter Explosion, and I will be your host throughout the entire season. And we've decided to change up our casters a little bit this week, give you something a bit special, because we have Bobby himself joining us alongside Infinity to get through all of the action here today. Bobby, welcome back. We have missed you.
I've missed you guys. It's obviously been a long time, but very excited to be back and getting to catch some of the best action that we're going to see in North America. Very much looking forward to today.
Yeah, Brody, I mean, it's a new week, which means new group, new challengers here, ready to step up to the plate.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into Group B. Bobby and I were having a conversation already about kind of the competitiveness of the two groups. Group B looks a hell of a lot better. Also want to say, really glad I got Bobby back because I don't have to deal with Ton this week. It's great.
it's going to be fantastic. All right. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do on the casting side of things, because we've got some really fun games in store. But if you guys missed what happened last week, or you want to keep up to date with everything that we've got coming up, you saw that pop up there. Just follow us on social media. That way you won't miss a single second of what we got going on here in our Snapdragon Pro Series. And then, of course, you can join our Discord as well, discord.gg/Snapdragon Pro Series, where you can join our community, talk all things Call of Duty Mobile, and continue, of course, to get all of those updates. But if you guys are wondering what we're talking about, what does Group B mean? What are you talking about Group A played last week? Let's give you a little bit of a refresher here on how this works. We obviously started things off a couple weeks ago with our Open Finals. We're now in the Challenge season. We've completed 1 week of the Challenge season in North America, which means we've also eliminated a team last week. Sad already, but it happened. Now we're in week 2 of it, and we're going to do it all over again. But we're talking about Group B. It's because it's GSL style. Our 8 teams in the region are broken down into 2 groups of 4. We saw Group A last week, and we will be seeing Group B this week. And at the end of it all, our top 4 overall will be the ones battling it out in our challenge finals there on April 5th and 6th. So the competition just continues to heat up as we move through everything, Bobby. And second stage of the competition, I guess, if you will, means there's even more money on the line for our competitors.
Yeah, obviously it's the reason that a lot of these guys are competing. Nothing to scoff at. $2,200 for that first place spot. Top 4 is where you're really going to get the bulk of that money. But every single team here, they want the money, but they also want to improve. They want to get better at Call of Duty Mobile. It should be interesting to see what this next generation of competitors looks like, especially here in the North American region, where we've seen a lot of new names pop up.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot. This is not the end. I mean, getting through the challenge, even the challenge finals, that's not the end. We still have multiple competitions throughout the year that our teams are going to be fighting to try and make their way into. So this is all part of a much larger competitive ecosystem here for the SPS. But before we get into all of the action that we have here for today, we'll give you a little bit of a refresher on what happened last week. This is that Group A that I was just talking about when we were taking a look at the format. And this is the results that we got. Okay, you can see we have our teams alive there in the upper bracket. We won't be able to see on Dreamers at Alex until next time around. We're going to be focusing on Group B, but at the end of the day, Brody, it was Rebel versus Nexus, and in a very close 3-2, Rebels were eliminated.
Yeah, kind of sad to say goodbye in memoriam here, but see you later, Rebels, because you got tucked in this series. They started the series actually pretty strong on the whole, right? You can see that at the beginning of the best of 5, and they managed to eke Nexus out in the hardpoint and stop overtime in Search and Destroy. But as we got to the back half of the series, I think Nexus became significantly more comfortable. They managed to pull off that round 5 raid control victory and a close Hassie and a hard point. But by the time we got to standoff Search and Destroy, it was already game over. Nexus were feeling themselves. They were playing super duper aggressive in towards that game number 5. That was a 7-0 victory. Just an absolutely phenomenal game of Search and Destroy from Rebels. And we look towards names on that roster from Nexus, excuse me, and look at names on the roster from Nexus. You guys will recognize a couple of them, such as Dicey and Excellence, but a couple of new names on that roster as well, all of which I think impressed me in those back 3 maps. For Rebels, I'm a little bit sad that we're going to lose some of these names. Again, names like Legacy and Nas, people who have played in Snapdragon Pro Series in seasons past. To not have those guys move forward in the competition is unfortunate, but ultimately, when you get reverse swept in the way that these guys did, you kind of deserve to not be moving forward. On the other hand, Nexus, they held strong, coming off a 3-0 loss at the start of the day versus Lalix of any team. I think it was super unfortunate, but in the end, it was Rebels who got eliminated.
Definitely provided us with some action there to close out the day. But now we're looking at Group B here, Bobby, and this is a pretty stacked group.
Yeah, no question about it. It's a couple teams that by the names you might not recognize them, but obviously NA Falloffs has a lot of the top players that have been in North America for a long time. I think especially you look at the top teams from last year: Envy, Washi, Vague, Rabalo, Jez. It's a stacked roster. On the other side, you got ARP, who actually was the team that ended up eliminating Bobby Bucket's Dino Nuggets from the competition. So they are a force to be reckoned with, absolutely no question.
I just pretend like that portion of time never happened in my brain because I couldn't have been any more sad. I was so ready to watch you play here in the challenge season, Bobby. Okay, ARP. They're my enemies now. They might not like it, but it's just how it is.
I'm rooting for them because the better they do, the better that makes Bobby Buckets Dino Nuggets lose. So I'm all for ARP.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We'll take a look at the schedule here. It'll be reflected the same as you guys saw in that bracket. We'll be starting things off with that first upper bracket match between OnMythic and ARP, and then we'll be moving down into NA Falloffs versus Stylum. And then, of course, what we'll be watching will be the same thing we did last time around. We'll be going down to that lower bracket, and the two teams that lost their round one match will then battle it out to try and stay alive in that lower bracket. Whoever loses will be eliminated here today. We will be sending one team home at the end of our 3 matches. So once again, it's going to be quick and dirty. So hopefully our teams are ready to get into all of the action. But let's start talking about it. Okay, you guys know how all this works. You saw the schedule. So chat, you should be ready to dive into it. Match number 1, OnMythic and ARP. Brody, talk to me a little bit about OnMythic.
Yeah, OnMythic is a roster we got to watch during Open Finals. They managed to qualify via that method, and looking towards the names on the roster, not familiar with a lot of them coming into the season, but I think certainly coming off the back of the Open Finals tournament, they did impress. Shout out to Badu, by the way, who I think is on that roster as a different name. He was a great performer during Open Finals and really showed up. These guys, I think, just on the whole, coming from Mexico and Venezuela, I think are going to surprise a lot of teams, but whether or not they can surprise a roster like ARP, different story entirely.
I mean, Bobby, on the flip side, we have ARP, and I think a lot of people are looking at them to do well.
Yeah, they've definitely made some solid pickups. I don't think Swish was originally on their roster, but he was on a team that was leading up to the season considered to be NA's last hope. So I'm interested to see if he gets thrown into the rotation. Across the board, a lot of experience, a lot of talent. So there's absolutely no question. From what I've heard, obviously we did take them down in the Search and Destroy, and they were talking about it afterwards, and they say they pretty much never scrim Search and Destroy. So I think if there's going to be a way for OnMythic to win this series, it's probably got to be through those searches.
Okay, well, we did see that happen quite a bit in the Open Finals as well, but now we're at a different level of competition here in our challenge season. So we'll take a look at the final piece of our puzzle, and we'll see what our teams have chosen when it comes to their picks and bans and what maps we're going to be seeing here. Will they have made some adjustments since last time around? Have they been working on that S&D? And that's something that's always important here, Brody. We talk about that a lot. These seasons happen pretty quickly, so our squads don't have too much adjustment time to make those changes, but Group B had a whole week to adjust.
Yeah, they did. So they will have seen a lot of the play from week 1. Some of those new maps thrown into the rotation. One new map here in this rotation that Ton and I have been enjoying quite a lot is Coastal Search and Destroy. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, this was one of the maps that Bobby Buckets Dino Nuggets managed to take away in their matchup versus ARP during Open Finals. Yeah, I'm a super fan, mate. Don't you worry. I remembered it. So it's interesting that it's the game 5. If we go there, obviously, if they're going to lose to Bobby Buckets, they could definitely lose it versus OnMythic.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. I think if you're ARP, you want to win by map 4, if at all possible. We see that right there for the control. That's one that I'm expecting we're going to see a lot throughout the season, just because the 2 other control maps are very new. And a lot of these teams are not going to have nearly as many reps on it, but ARP also did really well on that Hacienda Hardpoint up against us. So I'm not going to be surprised to see that in the rotation for them. They felt very, very comfortable there.
All right. Well, now that we know what to expect, chat, let us know your thoughts as well. Who do you think is going to be taking home match number 1 and will stay alive in that upper bracket, waiting to play another day and compete for one of those spots in our challenge finals? Because match number 1 is ready to get underway. So, Bobby, Brody, let's get into it.
Cheers, Lauren. Ready to get into our first match of the day. God, it feels good to be casting with you again, mate. And it's going to be a fun one to cast as well. OnMythic and ARP, 2 teams with very different stories here. Let's start a little bit with OnMythic, because I believe we were looking over the roster trying to get a feel for both of these 2 teams. Obviously, we know a lot about ARP. We know a lot about Coldus, about Chagabooth. But for OnMythic, we're always looking for information. You were saying that you got to look at Indra, a player on OnMythic last weekend.
Yeah, he actually was competing in our Queens of COD mobile event and had some phenomenal maps. It did feel like he was a little bit up and down, and I think especially in the control, maybe didn't feel quite as comfortable, but on a few of those hardpoint maps, he was a major contributing factor, phenomenal objective player, and just a really good all-around slayer. So he was kind of a dark horse heading into the competition. He caught a lot of people by surprise, and I'm curious to see what the players around him are able to do for this this OnMythic squad, because once again, there's a lot of players that we have not really seen compete yet in this challenge series.
Yeah, and OnMythic has a lot of those players. They do have 3 players, as a matter of fact, that have not qualified for a challenge season before, but they did, technically speaking, last season, didn't actually manage to get all the way through. That was Badu, Dakota, and Indra. They qualified for Season 5 NA under the team, I'm going to butcher this so much, mate, Jerry Siosos, I believe that's how you pronounce it, but they didn't end up playing in the actual competition itself. So, with that said, they're finally playing. They've got a Titanic team to go up against off the start of this game. It's going to be ARP Gaming, and if they're the team to take out Bobby Bucket's Dino Nuggets, well, they're a team everyone's got to be scared of.
Yeah, no question about it. They're going to get nice and mixy off the start right here. We got smokes out the wazoo. That's something we've seen a lot of these teams doing, is just, especially on the P1s and the easy contest hills, chuck down as many smokes as you can and see how much time that you can get before the other team reinforces. Looks like neither team too aggressive, as they want to maintain that top side control, and OnMythic getting the early time, but the biggest task right now for ARP is maintaining that map control, and right now they don't have any.
Yeah, map control not that great on the whole here for the opening of this hardpoint. You can already see OnMythic starting to get players looking towards that P2 side. Salome is going to pick up a big gunfight and a second one for that rotational battle as well. You are going to give up the last 10 seconds of scrap time here. That's not the end of the world, though. You can definitely chain this P2 hardpoint into a money kill, Bobby.
No question about it. Looks like OnMythic have that set up already. One player out of rocks. Jagaboo's going to be first point of contact right here to see if she can find a frag, but player with boxing gloves right around the corner, not going to be easy to deal with. She's going to get shut down right there. And this is looking like a really strong opening hold for OnMythic. Louder push right here, water push, coldest, not going to be able to find anything. And it seems like the restriction of the damage attachment on the USS 9 not doing a whole lot to prevent it from coming into play in the competition.
Yeah, it was one of those conversations I was looking to have with a lot of people when that kind of ban was announced. What was it, like 2 days before the start of the action? And I was kind of curious, like, are we going to see more Fenix in the conversation? Maybe is it actually going to do anything to remove the USS 9? No, it's not really for the most part. Has made things a little bit easier for Odin and Type 19 players, though. ARP looking to use those, try and hold them towards the hard point here for the moment. A couple of players still looking to hit from driveway side, and unfortunately Unravel just has a little bit too much to deal with there. It is a full yellow kill feed, and that is great for OnMythic as far as their scrap time is concerned. We look towards rotation, though. Big potential battle about to go down. Unravel is already there. 3 players from OnMythic trying to get past. They're at least going to get past Indra. But are they going to be, or Kryzo, excuse me, are they going to be aware of the fact that Unravel is chilling? The shots coming out from Salome, not good enough for the fight. Unravel surviving here for a moment, and he's bought enough time for the rest of the roster to get some time.
We're starting to see those operators charge. Indra pulling out the death machine. That's an operator that's gotten a number of buffs over the last couple seasons and is a really strong option. He's going to get taken down. Sparrow's going to drop for OnMythic as well. Not a whole lot of utility for them off those charges, but Hildor is going to be able to pull out the equalizers right here. Finds 2, finds 1 with the Hunter Killer, the War Machine on height for Badu right here, but he's going to drop. And that's a good opening push for ARP, but they've yet to be able to convert it into any hardpoint time.
And you've at very least taken the most operators off the board here, but now you've got to follow up with kills. Sparrow's self-kill from Chagaboo's not going to make this any easier, but fortunately ARP are able to follow up with 3 kills of their own towards the point. Coldest and Unravel will find value, so that is scrap time for ARP, but to be honest, if you're OnMythic, you're super happy with how that went. You got about 40 to 50 seconds off of that hard point alone. ARP don't really get much of a look whatsoever, so as we move towards Newt, this becomes all the more of an important rotation for ARP. Unravel's going to whip the Annihilator out to do some serious damage. Second kill in front of him, and he will find it. How many more kills can Unravel find? Nice nade over the top from Salome to take him out, and now OnMythic looking for the contest.
And it's going to remain mixy over here on P4. Smokes everywhere. Just tuck into a corner. Stay alive as long as you possibly can. We got a claw coming out for Dakota. 1 HP does survive. Doesn't last very long, though, as he drops. And once again, we've yet to see many of those operators find a lot of value. As I say that, Swish finds 3 equals in hand. He's still going. Finally going to drop, but at least finds some breathing room for ARP. We're finding a way to scrap their way back into this one. Chagaboo not going to be able to hold the line right there. And Unravel pre-firing only finds 1. Tempest is going to drop in the hands of Coldest once again. And it has been very, very back and forth so far in this one.
Yeah, for sure. OnMythic went into this hard point wanting to try and accentuate their lead. ARP have somewhat mitigated that. off the opening plays, but for the most part, the lead hasn't really changed all that much. OnMythic now about 25 points to the good over ARP here. They will be the first team to touch over by P1. Last time around on these rotations, it was OnMythic in control of P1. They control the PT rotation as well. That garnered them a pretty massive early advantage. But as we move towards P2, or P1, excuse me, ARP now starting to win these opening engagements, and now they're looking to get some time. Badu trying to be a nuisance up top. Actually going to find 3 kills here. For ARP, it looked like for a moment they're going to be able to get some modicum of control, but now Badu is completely destroying them. War Machine out for Badu. More kills now coming through as well. It's so easy for Badu.
With the position of those spawns, he could not have been any more perfectly placed. He's going to be able to earn the pred there, and that has kept the hard point cleared for a little bit, but ARP goes full blue in the feed right here. That's going to earn them some of this scrap time as Badu going to drop the pred, finds one, gets that information as well. But ARP doing a good job of mitigating the damage that he was able to do right there. Does look like OnMythic is going to be able to set up early for those rotations. Question is, with these spawns, what is ARP able to do with it? They're all going to be spawning out driveway side. Not a good spot. Big gunfight right here, and Dakota wins it. They're going to have to see what they can do with these driveway side spawns.
Yeah, Dakota's still the player to do something in this play. Chagaby picking up 2 kills has isolated him. Now going to get shut down by Kryzo with the War Machine. Badu's War Machine was mitigated, as you said, by ARP. Now for Kryzo, finding some serious value. Flip of the spawns coming through. Last War Machine pellet finds Dakota. Badu now down as well. Chaga responsible for that as she picks up Indra. Kills being made here for ARP. They're about to take the lead away from OnMythic. Kryzo for a couple of kills. One last player to do something here. Dakota through the smoke tries to use it to get in, but the pre-fire from ARP is so damn annoying. One player does manage to slide on through, but look at the investment of operators out for ARP right now. That is what, 3 or 4 in towards this hard point. They know this is a crucial point in the game.
They really want to make a full 60 out of it. They've nearly done it despite not having that early hard point control. 4 players already on rotation for OnMythic right here, so an opportunity for them to fight back. They need to maintain that topside office control, but Unravel popping the Annihilator. Going to see what he can clear out. 2 players on the point, 2 trying to maintain those spawns. We've yet to see any damage come through for that Annihilator, but they do manage to take down the Death Machine from the hands of Indra. So even though that Annihilator's only found, I think, 1 kill so far, looks like it's been enough for OnMythic to hold on right here. The pred's going to drop for Coldest, but I don't think he managed to find any kills in Dakota's. Goes big with the claw. That's going to be 3. 1 more player left to deal with, but they've got those good spawns, and he's going to be able to earn full streaks.
Dakota, are you kidding me? That is a full white. Players coming off the spawn now. At the very least, they're not going to have to deal with that. That Predator missile comes straight down from Dakota. OnMythic want this scrap time. 20 seconds still left to fight for. They're going to send for it. Pildora pre-aimed and pre-fired by Coldest. Smoke's now down. That's going to give OnMythic the chance to hit the contested. Hit now through from both of those players. It is pretty good. ARP still hanging about. It is a 2 versus 2 towards this point. Swish and Kryzo will find the kills and will find that scrap. So we're basically all even Stevens. Moving in towards the next hard point. Pildora cleans house on new. And now OnMythic will get first look at this next hill.
They've got 3 players set up. 1 takes topside control. That's Indra finding a big kill on the inside right here. Swish in response. What's he able to find? Nothing. Hipfire comes up short right there as he leaves a player 1 shot, and OnMythic doing a phenomenal job holding the line right here. They flip those spawns out as well. It's going to leave ARP coming from water side, but over top the heady. Swish is going to find 1. His nade connects for another. They've done some damage, but Badu in office going to be able to tear them apart on the push, and that is a perfect hold from OnMythic so far.
Yeah, and Dakota's going to follow up with immediate more kills here. In a game where the smallest of differences can make a massive difference in the scoreline, OnMythic taking this time would be so damn damaging for ARP. You can definitely tell they're flailing now. 1 by 1 they go, and 1 by 1 they will fall. Operators aplenty for OnMythic. 3 in the back pocket. ARP will send a couple of players to look at the scrap time, but they are going to get barely a look. That is now a 50-point advantage and growing for OnMythic here in this game. ARP starting to struggle, and they know that P1 has been a struggle bus over the last couple of rotations. Pildor trying to get a look in towards Newt, but will get shut down. For the most part here, ARP are winning the fights. Indra just trying to play his life towards the kill, buy some time for the team, but that's not going to happen. So ARP, good first hold here towards P1. Nice kills coming up from Coldest with a Tempest. That's 4 for Kim as ARP now in control.
That's going to be part of the algorithm for them to get back into this one. You need that value off the operators that they haven't seen so far. 4-piece from Coldest, definitely a good start, but Salam on the top side. Sparrow's going to go big, finds 3 before he's taken down. Pildora pulling out the equalizers right here, and OnMythic back in control of the hardpoint. They're actually going to give up control for free as Pildora's trying to play his operator, and that could come back to bite them if we start to see ARP snowball this one a little bit. A lot of damage, but no kills. They do finally find that one, and Badu looking to rotate early right here to see if they can set up for that P2 control. They could potentially end things here.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to have seen a little bit better usage of the equalizers there, right? I mean, you've got control of them. Hold on to them for the next hard point, because this is where everything becomes all the more important. Now you don't have the operator ready to go. They do have 3 in the back pocket, and I suggest that OnMythic bring them out almost immediately here. Badu first to do so. War Machine out to play. Tagabi trying to play their life inside the hard point. Not going to happen. 2 from the front. Shut down. Injure with the Death Machine also in the play. OnMythic, they've broken through.
Oh, they read those spawns to perfection. The second that they flip, he looks, starts spraying out those Death Machine and War Machine shots. And right now, ARP are scrambling. No control of this one. One player looking to push through white, but they're going to read it with the Death Machine. Kill comes through, and only 10 more seconds for them to take this opening map. We see full investment right here. ARP, Annihilator, Equalizers. They got to go big. They get the breakthrough right here, but they have got to be perfect the rest of the way through.
Yeah, that was a perfect flank coming through from, I believe it was Swish with the equalizers. Also finds some value inside that hard point, but it is, I have to say, a heavy investment, I know, to salvage the game, but what was it, 3 operators they had there, and 3 operators came out for 10 seconds of scrap time. You now have nothing as far as the rotation is concerned. OnMythic will be the first team to touch. How close are those spawns for ARP? Coldest in the backline, 3 players now going to run, sprint towards the hard point. Dakota and Salome, they're there ready to meet him. Flanking play from Unravel is all that ARP have left in the back pocket. Unravel going to find Indra, but no more than that. Swish can't touch the point, and OnMythic explode in the first game of this series.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed to do, and I think especially we talked about the fact that ARP have spent little to no time in the search and destroy. That does not bode well for them heading into the rest of this series. Definitely put up a good fight, but just not consistent enough all the way through it. I think we saw a number of different money hills that it felt like were the game changer. I think the pacing of the operators was a lot better for OnMythic, and maybe a little bit of a lack of chemistry for this ARP squad as well, who is definitely throwing some new players into the rotation.
Yeah, I think just really a couple of moments for me in that game where ARP kind of let the game slip somewhat. I think, especially towards P4 in that second set, it was a money kill from OnMythic, really the biggest hole we saw from either of the teams in the game. Phenomenal operators uses out of them. And on the flip side, we go towards P2 on that final set. And granted, I think you kind of have to invest something in that moment to salvage the game. You're going to lose the game if you don't. You've already got Swish on the flag. Like, Swish is enough to do something. Those equalizers are enough. You didn't need any more. Using 3 operators in that moment leaves you high and dry towards the rotation, and OnMythic will take that all day long. So it leads to a game where OnMythic come out strong in game number 1, shock the pants off of ARP, excuse me. Looking over towards the best performance in that game. Badu, once again, the highest kills for the team, but got to give a shout out to Indra. You said it right. I mean, albeit doesn't have the best KD in the game. Over 2 minutes and 26 seconds inside the hard point is playing the OBJ.
Yeah, and he's doing the dirty work. Obviously, it's not the glamorized role, but it was a big reason that they were able to get the win right there. And he played a huge role there, huge role in the event that we casted last weekend. And I'm interested to see what he can do now heading into those other modes. Did see some struggles in the search and destroy and the control, but Tunisia is a good place to be. Haven't seen a whole lot from either of these squads there. But I do think that they've at least got to be feeling confident taking map 1 and knowing that their opponent is far from a S&D specialist team.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. I wasn't sure, what the strats were going to look like, how deep the playbook will be for ARP. The fact that they're not really scrimming it. And I'll be fair, like, a search and destroy, at least in mainline Call of Duty, is not something that teams generally speaking scrim, right? It only ever comes out in tournaments because search and destroy strategies are something you want to hold back. You don't want to be, like, throwing them at teams, trying to practice them in scrims because then you'll be giving those strategies away, right? So Search and Destroy has always been the game mode in which teams scrim the least, so I'm not necessarily surprised, but I do think here in this matchup it is going to affect them, because you're right, like, you are now 1-0 down in this series. You can't really afford to go ahead and lose to the Search and Destroy, because the chances of a reverse sweep, not that high. They don't happen that often, albeit they did against Rebels last week. But that's not the point. We're probably not going to get one here. In this series, we are going to get a Tunisia Search and Destroy, though. Expectations, I think, pretty set for this map. It's been in the rotation for a really long time now.
Yeah, they should at least have the reps right here, whether it's competitive rank. Like, this has been all over COD Mobile Search and Destroy for quite a while right now. Opening up on the offensive side, typically not the side that we see teams thrive on. So if they can find a couple of rounds here on the opening, that would absolutely be huge. They're going to be able to find one as they flood through mid right here. Swish going to look over toward the B side, and it looks like this is the route they're going to take. Flash does hit. Perfect spot for Stylum, but not going to be able to find the kill off that opening sniper shot. He's going to get taken down, and that's a perfect opening for ARP.
Yeah, they've got part number one of probably the most difficult thing to do. Win an offense here on Tunisia, Search and Destroy done. Getting that bomb down on A. Nade over the top does actually tag Swish, so they're going to have to play their life here off the reset. OnMythic will take this slow. Wait for some potential overchow from ARP. Kryzo sitting in an off angle. Not something that Badu will necessarily check here. And again, OnMythic are playing this one so slow. You got to go at some point here. You can't just continue to sit in this situation. Finally, the hit now starting to come through. Badu keeping an eye out for some of the players, trying to garner some information. There's the play call made. Pildora up top will find one. Now looking for more, but you get bullied by the last two players in Swish and Kryzo. And that is a great round of Search and Destroy. Getting into the site for ARP is everything.
And that was a beauty of a setup right there for ARP. Very unusual off angles being held on that low ground, but allowed them to get the information to find first blood. And after that, they handled business exactly as they needed to. Very different look right here. All utility going on over toward the A side. And it looks like that information does get relayed to the rest of the squad. Two players still staying over on the B side to defend. Yet to see any first engagements. Unusual spot to have a shotgun, but as long as Badu can stay tucked under Winery right here, might be able to do some damage. Pildora not going to be able to connect with the sniper shot right there. And once again, looking for that first action in this one.
ARP just looking for something, just looking for some kind of way in towards the site. It's so difficult. OnMythic have done a stellar job at draining a lot of time off the clock. There is more in each Search and Destroy round in Call of Duty Mobile, so ARP do have a little bit more than you would usually expect to play with, but utility being sent over the top still here from ARP. That's going to give OnMythic the idea that, hey, this is still going to be a B here, but it won't be long before Salome has something to deal with towards the back of the site. Again, just like previously, getting a player out the back of B is everything, but Salome's changed position here. Also has a little bit of help from Indra, so I think the off angle potentially from Salome might throw ARP off. They'll immediately go for the check here. Here comes a slide chow. Salome with the off angle needed to hit that shot and did not. You're not going to get a second chance. ARP are not going to let that happen. 35 seconds on the clock here. This rock's going down.
And the patience paid off right there. Swish has first point of contact on the top side, but Dakota, the MG42 absolutely shreds two right there, so we're into a 3v3, and they've yet to get the bomb down right here. One player's lower mid. That's not going to be easy to do. Badu's going to be able to take down Shagaboo, finds Unravel as well, and it falls apart for ARP. 5 straight kills for OnMythic to even it up at 1-1.
Really well played from OnMythic, and a bit of a fumble, I gotta say, from ARP, right? You get into the site, you get those first 2 kills. Get the bomb down. There's no real reason to get over aggressive in the way that OnMythic do. You're in a 5 versus 3. That is a hell of a fumble in that round from ARP. Maybe the lack of scrims is showing up here in round number 2. But a situation we should now be familiar with. ARP poking and prodding that potential A push. Pre-fire galore for the MG42. And there's so many bullets in the magazine, I'm pretty sure he could fire it for the entire round and still wouldn't run out.
Yeah, people might be caught off guard by an LMG being taken out here on, oh my god, what a shot out of Pildora. Huge first blood. The LMG coming out here on Tunisia, part of the beauty of it is that the walls are pretty much made out of paper. So there's a lot of different spots that you can check. Badu, shotgun, pretty much the perfect spot is Kryzo looking for that first contact. Swish slides through, he's going to drop. So is Kryzo. They get picked apart right here, and just like that, they're into a 5v2. Shagaboo, coldest, trying to find picks. Shagaboo's going to be able to find one. but still a lot of work to do to find anything here. And it looks like OnMythic going to creep forward on both sides. They're getting tucked back very far into a corner if you're ARP, and you've got to commit to a point at some point. Chelsea going to be able to find one onto Stylum right there, and that could be the opening.
Yep, Chagabu. 2 versus 3 alongside Coldest. This is the height mobility duo that during Season 5 did not win a map, and, well, they're not going to win a gunfight here. Chagabu goes down. Time to see something special from Coldest. What have you got on the menu? Apparently absolute hoodoo, because there's not going to be a 1 versus 3 for Coldest there. OnMythic, basics on point. They take the round.
Yeah, it's looked pretty disconcerted from ARP since that first round. I think a lot of their success there was just catching OnMythic off guard with that opening mid push, and ever since they've taken a more passive approach, they've pretty much gotten picked apart at every turn. Get information for Pildora right there, but Unravel through the smoke's going to be able to find one, so they do find that map control forward. Got to deal with Indra on the opposite side, but if they can find that pick, it could be huge. He does his job, takes down one. Stylum finds another, and man advantage goes the way of OnMythic again. Dakotas finds one, and Chagabu all alone drops. Is now OnMythic. 3 rounds in a row going their way.
And again, the fundamentals for ARP really lacking here in Search and Destroy. If you're going to get control of the site, you have to clear it. Like, you can't just sit there on the site and hope that the players that are still at the back of B don't push you, because they're going to here at this level of the Snapdragon Pro Series. So, OnMythic making the best of the situations that are being handed to them on a golden platter right now. ARP, once again, in a situation that they have not been able to break previously. All of their wins so far in terms of gunfights have come off these B pushes. A has not been successful whatsoever and won't be off the start of this round. Pildora whiffs the second shot. Chagabu will be grateful for the easy trade. 4 versus 4, though, does not make it any easier to get into this site.
And they're holding the cross right here, but can't really check any of those crucial angles. But Badu overextends. He's going to get taken down right there, and the LMG taken out of the equation. So now OnMythic, no map control right here, and the pressure on for ARP to try to convert a much-needed round right here. Swish going to take some damage from the nade. Stays alive, and the pressure onto Stylum to find that opener. Cryzo's going to drop. Now into a 2v3.
Still going to get into the site, though. Might well have taken one of the players down. Doesn't make it any easier, but the Tundra is a godly weapon. Even more so in the right hands. Oh, not going to get the shot off as Swish takes him down. Now just down to Indra. Slide out does not work, and ARP overwhelmed for the first time. They actually managed to get in a sight.
And the thing to keep in mind is it is much easier to hold a defensive site than it is to break one. So the fact that ARP have been able to find 2 rounds already here on the offensive side, you would think should bode well for them in some degree or another. Once again, very split defensive setup. It's going to be a full send on over to B. Utility going over the top. And the pressure really on for Stylum to find at least 1 frag right here. Indra there for assistance if he needs it, but that is not a good spot to be. They're going to storm, and that's going to be 2 players dropping already. Bomb goes down, and ARP bouncing back in this one as they've now got 5v3 to hold the retake.
So difficult for OnMythic to pull this one off. Nice nade at the top from Badu, though. Makes things significantly easier. Coldest, though, trades things out. You really need to follow up with a second frag, because now things will slow up once again. You can't afford to let that happen with 25 seconds on the clock. Pildora looking for something. Badu also there. Shots from Coldest are great. Pildora unlikely to put off a 1 versus 4 with this much time, and Coldest will formalize it. You said it, mate. 3 offensive rounds for ARP. Certainly could have been better. I'll say that for sure. Probably should really be 4-2 or even 5-1, but still, you take those 3 offensive rounds off the reset gear. Now it's going to be ARP on defense.
And if you're OnMythic, you most certainly would think can feel that momentum slipping a little bit. So would not be surprised to see an aggressive play right here, but it looks like they're going to send utility at A, and then all 3 players wrap back toward mid right here. Bomb Carrier has already made entry onto Psy. Unravel spots 1, but he's not going to be able to find anything. And that's a huge opener, as there's now no defensive presence here on the B side. They can set up so many different angles against this retake. And ARP have got to get to work on this quickly.
Well, they are. You can see Chagabu immediately on the flank here. This is a big 1 versus 1. Not too sure if Pildora's just spotted her out. I think the way that he's playing suggests that he has. And yet still, Chagaboo now has to kind of up the ante somewhat. The call is made, hey, we've got numbers in the situation. We might have send a couple of players on flank. We can take the 3 versus 2 on the other side. Cryzo feels the brute force of that. There goes Chagaboo. And now all down to Coldest. Not going to happen here. 1 versus 5 is significantly too much to ask for. OnMythic, they overwhelm on towards the B site.
And it seems like maybe the comfort of this Tunisia being a more familiar search and destroy map working to ARP's advantage to some degree, but not there as they failed to take that opening defensive round where I think we expected them to carry some of that momentum through. This time, very aggressive push. And really similar to last time, but this time Unravel's going to be able to find first blood with the sniper in hand. So his job's already been done. Anything he finds after this is just a bonus. And he's really just holding them off as long as he possibly can, waiting for the reinforcements to arrive, but they're going to drop like flies. Swish able to find one right there, but still a 2v3. Coldest slides through that top side, and Badu knows exactly where he is. Swish spotted out, but he's going to be able to find the frag, and just like that, it's a 2v2. Pildora shot onto Coldest, Swish, pressure on, and he does not deliver. OnMythic, back-to-back rounds here to open the offense.
Yeah, first blood is all well and good for ARP in that situation, but you do again have to follow up with backside control. Player inside the site unable to get away. OnMythic take advantage of the time that ARP were trying to burn off the clock. Retake is not possible. OnMythic looking so solid on the offense right now. I think fundamentally just a little bit more sound than their opposition. Once again, same kind of setup here. ARP, though, have done something a little bit different on the defense. Swish has pushed all the way up here. Now looking to catch a couple of players off guard towards the A site. Badu's making a lot of noise, though, and that's going to open up some potential here for OnMythic. They could potentially wrap this towards A if they want.
Different approach for both teams. Both the opening rounds for OnMythic, they had sent 3 players to A just to shuck utility and try to catch him off guard. But that time, 1 player goes top winery and finds the first blood. So Cryzo's taken out of the equation. They've now all wrapped toward A, but Coldest finds a crucial kill right here. Dakota trying to cover bomb planter right here, second guessing it with that smoke, but nobody going to make their way through. So they should be able to get the bomb down. The question is, can they find this opening kill and Swish? Perfectly cooks the nade right there. That's absolutely crucial. Indra's got to hold off as many players as possible, but Unravel finds one. He finds another right there, and now all down to Indra in the 1v1. Comes out on top. Huge 1v2 for them as they're now 1 round away from closing this one out and moving up 2-0 in the series.
You were absolutely right to point out Indra as a player we have to watch. Might not be the top fragger right now for OnMythic, but certainly, though, will be clutching up over and over again. Big 1 versus 2 for him there towards the end of that engagement. OnMythic now 3 rounds on the bounce here in this search and destroy. ARP dealing with a threat. Again, aggression over the top, but Unravel will get the double with just 1 shot. 2 birds, 1 stone. 3 for Unravel as well. 4 is coming from Swish, and all down to just 1 player now. OnMythic decided to come into this round with unpatented aggression, and they have been ground to a halt. ARP on the hunt for the last player, and finally, some momentum swinging back the other way.
They needed somebody to make a big play, and Unravel absolutely delivered, locking down that B side, the collat, and then another one to follow up with it. OnMythic absolutely picked it apart right there, and would not be surprised to see a different approach, but it looks like Unravel connects through the wall right there. Insane wallbang, and once again gives that early advantage to ARP. He is going absolutely massive here, and OnMythic left guessing as they did not expect to lose a player that early.
All right. Looks like Unravel's really started to step things up in these last few rounds, taking his guardianship of the B site seriously. Good shot as well from Cryzo. That's Salome down for the count now, and OnMythic has certainly split very thinly across the board. Indra decides to take a peekaboo towards site. Finally, some kind of value towards A as Pildora takes Cryzo out of the play. But it doesn't make this situation any more palatable. At the very least, Chagaboo should be dead to rights here. I concerned myself for a second there whether that kill would actually come through from Badu, but the biggest issue here, that bomb is now down towards B, owing to Indra's little peek out towards the site. So not really a lot of time to burn off the clock here if you're Badu and Pildora to actually transition towards site to get that.
And ARP can just play off the information from that one. It's got to be onto a sniper to find an opening frag right here, but not, like you said, not a whole lot of time to work with. 37 seconds on the clock, and ARP going to be playing as passive as possible to get the information to take a life advantage in this one. Playing together, but once again, time their biggest enemy. Only 20 seconds. They're not moving quickly at all. Unravel's going to find one. Coldest finds the other. That's ARP now taking back-to-back rounds to get back into this one. They're one round away from forcing overtime.
Like, Unravel has had so much more to do in the last couple of rounds. It was a clap in the last round, and then round we just saw shot through the wall. Unravel having a field day here. ARP, as you said, just one more round. We see our first overtime of the day. OnMythic are decidedly slower this time around. Salome has to be careful. It's going to take a shot to the leg. Will Chagaboo, she's down for the count now. How much more value can Salome find? Job number one is done. OnMythic have that first blood. Now they can play a little bit more with the map.
Dakota's going to sit back, play this one passive. Once again, bomb in hand. Actually, no, it is in hand right now for Indra, who's actually just kind of watching over it for the time being. Coldest waiting for an entry right here. And a bit of a stalemate between these two teams as Indra's finally going to opt to pick up the bomb right there. Very unusual approach, but it looks like it does the hope for plan right there. Is now everybody going to start rotating for ARP. Cryzo finds one onto Salam. So that's going to be the equalizer right here, and Pildora really wants to find this opening engagement. Is he going to read Coldest behind this box? That's the real question.
Does feel like that's going to be the entire play that might well blow this entire thing wide open. You lose value through the middle of the map as well. So now it becomes all the more important. Check is made, but not before Coldest takes some shots. Doesn't matter. Equally, you lose Cryzo through the middle of the map here. Now you have site control. ARP on the rush to get back in towards it, but you overtake a snipe on towards Unravel. Not going to win that fight. Now 2 versus 2. Switch out towards the site. Shut down from Indra. Now Unravel, can you do anything here? Snipe on towards one. Indra will get it done with the final kill. OnMythic managing to edge it out there towards the end. They stop the overtime. They take the search and destroy, and now a 2-0 series lead.
As once again, a near 1v2 clutch for Indra as he goes big to close out the map for his squad. They have absolutely surprised me right here, and I would imagine probably surprised this ARP squad as they've shown a lot of mental toughness despite some of the runs that we saw ARP go on. Big shots out of a lot of different players. Dakota's, I feel like, had a lot of big two pieces to close out some of those rounds and Unravel for ARP. Some beautiful shots out of him, but unfortunately not enough to give them the map.
And I will say again, for me, it comes back to those first few rounds. Despite some phenomenal plays towards the end of the game from Unravel, and really, I think just ARP on the whole, it was those first 3 rounds. I know that you walk away with 3 offensive efforts from ARP. I get that. But at the same time, they could have probably got a couple more were it not for some key areas in just actually getting on towards the sites. Just certain fundamental problems that I think, again, maybe a couple of scrims probably would have helped them solve. But ultimately, it is going to be ARP taking an L in that search and destroy. Despite the heroics of Unravel with 12 frags to his name, OnMythic are shining right now. Badu continues to be a consistent performer with 11 frags to his name, but MVP rightfully going the way of Indra because he had so many different clutches in that game, if not for trades, if not for 1 versus 2. This guy was constantly getting involved in the action when he needed to.
Yeah, he went big. They now have an opportunity to close this out in a 3-0. We get ready to head into the raid control. And you would think, especially with this being the longest standing map in the control map pool, with as many experienced players as ARP have, they should feel comfortable heading into this one. But with the way things have gone so far in this series, I think they can feel anything but comfortable.
Yeah, and that's the problem right now, right? Again, I will say normally for me, if I look at a roster like ARP with the amount of kind of players they have on side that should be showing mental resilience, I think they would be fine. But it's the newer players that I'm not necessarily as aware of where I'm like, are you guys going to be okay 2-0 down in a series you guys didn't necessarily expect yourselves to be 2-0 down in? How are you going to handle that? Because for me, in my mind, if I'm ARP, I go into this entire series thinking, yeah, we're probably going to easily breeze through this. It's NA Falloffs that are going to be the problem in this group. All of a sudden, You're now facing this OnMythic roster that have come out and surprised both us here on the casting desk and, of course, ARP in this series. OnMythic look serious right now. We do have a raid control, though, up next, as you said, and I'm kind of curious here. Raid control. You know what I'm going to say, because I've said it a lot with raid control. A lot of teams do not play raid control properly. I actually saw last week a lot more teams playing map control on the defense really, really well. So I'm curious if ARP have been scrimming this map, if they've been getting the practice in, they might be able to edge out on Mythic here and survive in this series. But if I see a raid control defense and it's not played properly, Bobby, I'm going to screech, mate.
Well, hopefully we can keep the blood pressure down heading into this one. We'll see if OnMythic deliver here off the start. They are going to send one player over toward the A side. And for the offense, ARP full sending it here on to B. Chagabu going to be first on, and Badu's going to find 2 to open things up. That's a pretty blue feed, and not a great start for an ARP team that is scrambling for any semblance of hope. They find themselves down 5 lives, make it 6 very early on.
This is a phenomenal start from OnMythic. It's about as good as you could possibly ask for here. ARP do not look focused whatsoever. Off the respawn, their choice is to opt straight towards a push through pool A side. You get rid of one of those key players, though. That's Badu down for the count. Now through open stairs. OnMythic going to cut them off at the source. Pildora will take one player down, but it's not fully enough to actually stop these guys on the offense. So they should be able to stop the clock. But now it's about taking out the players from money, from basketball. The latter of those two positions, player has now gone down. Injured through the window, though. Able to double up. Flanking play from Ventura. Could still blow this thing wide open, and it will. Flash now over the top here, coming out from ARP. At the very least, they don't have to deal with anybody inside top bedroom. They are getting those closer spawns towards A, but time really starting to run out in this round.
OnMythic have just looked like the more cohesive team at every turn in this one. Phenomenal responses on that defensive side, and ARP have not been able to poke a hole in it one bit. Chelsea gonna find one right there before she gets traded out, and Pildora, he's on a 5 spree. Badu's gonna find 2 of his own. No time to work with right here. 1 second as they stop the clock, but only 5 lives to work with. And really, any time that you can get to charge those operators after the fact, OnMythic will take, but they certainly don't need it. They take the opening round 1-0, and they do it in a dominant way.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal start from OnMythic. One of the cleanest breakoffs I think we've ever seen, really, on this map mode combination and a game mode that series, that has been so well matched between these two teams for the most part. OnMythic come out strong. Talk about those operators off the rip. Of course, the fact that they get that extra time is going to enable them to bring 1 out at the start of this round. Now make it 2 as the Sparrow comes out after the War Machine from Badu. Can the Sparrow find any value? Salome at the top will be good for the kill against Coldis. Now you're really going to start to press the issue here. Salome finally going to run out of arrows in the Sparrow and will go down for it, but the job is done. You created a lot of space now. OnMythic now going to jump on the point, and if I'm ARP, I don't even really know if I do anything about this. I just go straight towards an A defense.
Yeah, we talked about the importance of those newcomers performing, and unfortunately, they have not done so off the start of this one for ARP. Unravel and Swish, 1 kill apiece, part of the way through the second round of Control, just not going to make the cut at this level of the competition. And they've got to find some leadership in that squad to get these guys a little bit more confident heading into this one. Not a bad setup right here, but that B zone already captured does not bode well for ARP. Fortunately, Swish on the inside of Kitchen going to be able to find 2, and that slows the push.
Enemy down.
ARP now looking for a way to stabilize here. Over a minute on the clock. They've got players in key power positions. Unravel doing a really good job of holding those spawns down. From bottom bedroom side, you've got Swish in the Z cut, trying to stop these guys making it towards ring. One player has actually gotten past, and I'm curious to see whether or not Salome actually comes back to help out the team. Yeah, he does. Making sure they get rid of Swish. Swish, though, trying to break these guys in. Doesn't he find any value? No. Takes 3 players on, though. And just by making that one play, Swish wastes, what, like 20 seconds off the clock? That's time you really wanted if you're ARP.
Yeah, absolutely no question about it. OnMythic has taken kitchen control right here, so it's really just a question of getting the rest of those players pushed forward to be able to lock down that surrounding area. Salome doesn't get read right here by Cryzo, but not going to be able to find the kill either. They get the information, and the War Machine's going to pop, so that's a crucial kill. OnMythic trying to make their way forward, but Cryzo doing a phenomenal job of zoning out. Swish pops the equals, and just like that, the life lead has been completely flipped on its head. He's not going to read the one player coming out of garage right there, but still finds the kill anyway. And it looks like ARP has found enough momentum to give themselves a glimmer of hope. Pildora not going to be able to connect with the sniper, and now down to 5 lives. Not a whole lot of time to work with, and they have got to be completely perfect from here on out to have a chance in this round.
If I'm honest, I don't necessarily hate those operators coming out from ARP, right? They just want to secure this round to even the odds here and control. Feels like they should be able to do it over here with 10 seconds left on the clock. One last push through OnMythic. Through Money's side, team shots from Salome, not that great in the end, unable to get the kill before the teammate goes down. Now just down at Pildora. Exit was being watched by Cryzo, but there's just no time for any such play to happen. And ARP, gotta say, really both off the control of the map, and I think those operators coming up towards the end of the game to punch that round home, able to equalize things out here on this control. But that results in OnMythic having 5 operators off the rip here as we get into the defense. They want a clean start of this round once again.
Yeah, I don't think they were stressing the outcome of that one too very much. Unravel's going to pop his Annihilator, and he goes huge. He's now earned 2 streaks for himself, not too far off the EMP. And it looks like they've been able to take Badu's operator off the table, but still 4 ready to go. It's just a question of what type of damage can they do with it. Is ARP looking a lot more confident off the opening break here in this one? No value going to be found off that Pred missile as Trophy does take it out. And it looks like it's going to be a free B zone capture right here. Badu does find one on the way out. But OnMythic looking a lot less confident and have not seen much value out of those operators.
Trophy systems taking out Predator missiles, mate? Who knew? Never knew about that. Anyway, ARP not going to fully capture a B just yet. We'll be now looking to force the issue here. This is a big play coming up from Swish. If you could find some more value there, that's great. But will at the very least create some space so that OnMythic can now start to make this capture happen towards A. Good first kill coming through from Unravel. Job's not done just yet. Nice shots on towards Badu as well. Towards the point. Chagaboo finding value against Indra. That's the Death Machine player out of the play. But actually on the point, Swish now finds himself isolated. Gonna stop the clock. Waiting for players now to make their way over from the spawn. But Pildora to take Swish down. That's gonna make the clock go again. Still 2 ticks over by B. Still a chance here for OnMythic to get something going on the defense towards A, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Double stack now starting to come through here from ARP. You've got players on the point. Somebody from OnMythic needs to put a stop to this right now. Here comes Indra to get it done. Not going to check that left-hand corner, but Pildora potentially on the flank. Nope, also going to get shut down. Kills from Salome and Dakota, and they will not stop the capture. Just about. That capture comes through. Just about. We see an extra 60 seconds here for ARP.
And we talked about Unravel and Swish being the difference makers. They were at 1 kill apiece halfway through the second round. They're now the 2 top frags for this ARP squad. They have been the difference so far in these rounds that they've been able to win and doing a phenomenal job. It looks like they're not going to secure those final couple of seconds needed to close out that capture, but 6 lives left to do it and 3 operators if they want to use them. Would not hate to see that happen, but with 2 players dropping, the odds of them winning this round just drop substantially.
Yeah, I would actually say, if anything here, the biggest thing for ARP is the fact you've got flanking players, but none of that is executed at the same time. You were right. Probably would have been nice to see one of those operators coming out to play, but a 2 versus 6 at this stage of the competition would require some hefty one-on-one engagements from Unravel and Chagaboo, and that's not going to happen. Nice long-range shots from Badu with the Type 19. Chagaboo on the chase for the kill, but you don't find it, and now I think this makes this 1 versus 5 untenable. Not really much that Chagaboo can do here in this situation. If I'm Chagaboo, I run at these guys. I do not waste time because you are giving them time for their operators to charge up. Here comes the hit, though. First kill, good. Now looking for the second. Slide Chow, not good enough, and Dakota will take Chagaboo down. So OnMythic, massive sigh of relief there as they managed to take that round away. That is a huge clutch for them. But you've given away a lot of ticks in that round. That was 5 for ARP. That basically all but guarantees a defense for round 5.
Yeah, no question about it. To be fair, they have not necessarily looked awful on the offensive side, but it's been very, very up and down with Unravel and Swish starting to get back into this one. Absolutely a chance. 2 operators out on both sides. Unravel's going to be first to connect. And it looks like 2 operators already taken off the table for OnMythic. So ARP do the opening damage. They're going to continue to find kills with Unravel, that Annihilator in hand. This is the opening that they were looking for. Absolutely no progress off the offensive break so far.
Yeah, that's a lot of operators burned here for OnMythic on this offensive push, but still 2 in the back pocket now as Indra's Death Machine will now start to spin up once more. Swish on the defensive side, though, trying to bring those equalizers out to play. You want a clean defensive win here, so you can go into a round 5 defense feeling pretty happy about yourself. Swish now on the hunt as the equalizer's starting to run out of time, wants to find more value, will start to tear through the defense on the other side of the bottom bedroom, looking for more kills. Finally, the equalizer will run out of bullets and time, but the damage is absolutely done here as ARP are ripping OnMythic a new one. Just 5 lives lost here in this control, and OnMythic have totally spun out of control. There is absolutely no chance here that OnMythic win this round.
ARP looking like a streaky team, but when they get hot, they are blazing hot. Absolutely storming the map right now. Dakota's going to move forward. Actually opts to pop the claw right here. He only finds 1 kill off of that. And knowing that you're getting ready to head into a 5th round, maybe a questionable play, as you're now down 10 lives. You've got 2 objectives to be captured. It looks like they're going to get good progress onto B right here. But still so much that you've got to do to have a chance at closing things out right here. Indra's going to be able to find 1. And the kills are coming through for OnMythic. They get that B zone captured, and the life lead is now dwindled down to 6. Pildora's going to drop. But you got some streaks and operators. I don't think that they invest right here, but at the bare minimum, you kind of stop that bleeding a little bit.
I would like to strike it from the record that I said that OnMythic don't win this round. No chance. Because it feels like there's a real chance now. 5 versus 10. It's still slim. Dakota now starting to pick and prod at the defense here. ARP have 1 player pulled through, and, well, Predator Missile comes down. You don't necessarily need it from Unravel, because now OnMythic down to their final player, and short of one of the best plays in Call of Duty Mobile that you will ever see in a professional setting, short of the nuke that we saw last week. Badu here, I think, will not pull off this 1 versus 6. It would be insane.
I don't know if production has the ability to calculate this, but if we could have Unravel and Swish's KDs before and after the fact that I pointed out that they were on 1 kill apiece, they have gone absolutely nuclear in this one and helped ARP claw their way back, as now 28 and 24 kills apiece. They have put this team on their back and now have an opportunity to close things out. They are going to be on the offensive side right here, but seemingly have all the momentum in the world. We do see 1 operator come out. Coldest, Tempest, going to be able to make his way all the way through mid right here. And if they can get some players spawning in the back, he could do some serious damage.
Yeah, Coldest on the way here. This could be the big play from behind enemy lines. It's going to be the shock here of your life, as Coldest is the player to get it done. But on the other side, Pildora to take them down. That's 2 of the Annihilator looking for number 3. Unravel right in front of him, and Pildora cleans house. OnMythic will defend the point. ARP Gaming here now moved away. Just 1 minute on the clock. You invested a little bit into that play, but you still have more tricks up your sleeve. Now you got to deal with Indra on the other side of the Death Machine. OnMythic have been perfect with their operators in this round. 50 seconds on the clock for ARP to pull something out of their rear ends. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. 40 seconds and counting. They have to go now.
Badu sniffed 1 out from that spawn. Cryzo War Machine hasn't found any value yet, but they don't seem to know where he is. Unfortunately, right there, it's going to be tough to find value, and it goes absolutely to waste. ARP now down 7 lives right here, and it seems like they're spinning a little bit. We've seen those operators wiped off the table, as now Chagabu going to be the only one remaining. Only 20 seconds to get onto an objective right here. They've got no map control, and they are just funneling down the barrels of these OnMythic guns. They get ripped to shreds. Dakota's going to pop the claw right here, and a 14 life lead. This one has been blown wide open. Swish does his best to mitigate the damage, but only 5 seconds and 4 lives. Absolutely nothing the ARP can do right here, and they are absolutely shocked as they go down 3-0 to OnMythic.
What the hell, dude? What the hell? Like, this is not something that we were talking about. I was, to be honest with you, I'm going to kind of out myself here. I was going into this series thinking, looking at ARP, looking at the likes of Chagabu and Coldest on this roster. They had Static in open finals. I'm not entirely sure where Static was here, but I was thinking ARP were going to 3-0 this series. I was totally convinced that OnMythic were not going to have a good time. This group was going to be a battle between NA, Falloffs, and ARP, but a new challenger has appeared in OnMythic. How about that, folks? A 3-0 in this series, and this control, super duper back and forth. I will say, I'd actually like to kind of clarify the win condition for a round 5 defense. Is it ticks or is it kills here in combo?
It's ticks.
It is ticks. ARP did a lot of damage in that round number 4. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't get the defense for round number 5. Regardless, though, it does not matter. They couldn't win the offense when it mattered. Big plays coming out from Unravel, and that's really unfortunate that they will not be going through. But again, give him the MVP of the series. Indra, the top fragger here alongside Pildora on OnMythic, has been performing every single game. A player that everyone here in this group and really in North America need to watch out for.
Yeah, and you do have to give credit to Unravel and Swish, two players that I think most people would consider up and coming, and I think that bodes well for NA at least having some talent in the player pool, or I guess more specifically for the USA having talent in the player pool, because right now it's been Mexico pretty much running the table here in the North American region.
That was wild. I just like you guys, I mean, I was not prepared for that strong of a 3-0 out of OnMythic. Kudos to them. I mean, that's exactly what they want to do performance-wise. They now will be remaining in that upper bracket, and they don't have to worry about much of anything for quite some time. They can just sit back and watch the rest of these matches. Now, for everybody at home, that doesn't mean ARP is out of the competition yet. If you're just joining us, OnMythic winning that 3-0 just means that ARP will be dropping down now into that lower bracket, and they'll be waiting to see who they'll be facing off against in the third and final match of our day. And of course, that will be between the other two teams that we got to see earlier in our bracket, NA Falloffs versus Stylum. Lots of storylines that we'll be able to start talking about there as we look towards match number 2. But I mean, Bobby, that was impressive.
That was. I would say most people who have been watching COD Mobile competitive for a while were probably caught off guard with that one. We expected to see some holes in the approach for ARP, as they've self-admitted not taking a lot of things seriously, but OnMythic really performed in this one, and showing why they're still in this competition and now looking like very much a force to be reckoned with, as they could be knocking on the door of one of those top 3 spots.
Yeah, we get that updated bracket here with OnMythic moving forward. Got it all set up the right way now as ARP are down there in the lower bracket. So that was definitely faster than I thought this first match was going to go as well. So I think OnMythic came today with just something to prove, all right? They wanted to make sure that they showed why they were one of the top 8 teams in the region, what they could really do at this competition. And now they are one step closer to grabbing one of those 4 available spots in our challenge finals. So congratulations to them, and a match 1 well fought. But like I've been saying, that's just the first match of the day. We still have 2 more to go. So before we get into match number 2, we're going to send it to a short break, but don't go anywhere. You're watching the Snapdragon Pro Series.
I'll shift back with another blind player ranking with Tectonic. My guy, we're going to give you 5 players, one by one, and you have to put them into a spot 1 to 5. 1 being who you think is the best player, 5, of course, being who you think is the worst. It's all Western players. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Player number 1. Luke is in.
Oh, number 1. Hey, this is the easiest ranking system in the world. Look, I was hoping you didn't say so. Look, if you would have said anyone besides Lucas, I'd have been like, okay, I'm a gamble that Lucas is going to be here because it just makes sense, you know, in the West. Lucas is 1. Done.
Luke is in 1. Okay. Player number 2, Envy.
Trying to think of people that are better than Envy or at his level. I mean, if you were to think of his teammates, you have Band, Washi, Raballo, Latham. You're looking at like the Mihawk, the Pabzera, Europe. I think people who have his style similar is Inferno, Creed, and maybe Marvel, but I still think Envy's better. I'm gonna say 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold out
Envy
on
and
2
3.
spot. I'm gonna hold out on 2 spot.
Really thinking through this. I will say, out of all the people we've done this with, you are really processing all this. So I love that. Okay. So you got Envy in your 3, Lucas in your 1. Your 3rd player to rank, the one and only Bobby Plays.
5.
Next.
Next. Like,
Okay,
love Bobby,
your
but 5 next.
All right, your 4th player, dipping over to Europe, a player you didn't mention. I've got Shark.
Shark. Ooh. Because if I put Shark 2 and there were to be someone like Mihawk next, it'd be heartbreaking. It would be heartbreaking. But I don't want to put someone like a Vague in 2, you know? Like, maybe I should have put Envy at 2. Let's say Shark 4.
Shark 4. Okay.
We're gonna gamble that the last player is someone up there.
I think you're going to be happy with your gamble because the 5th and final player taking your 2 spot is in fact Mihawk.
Look, I know my West players.
This guy knows ball, man. So you got Lucas-in and Mihawk 1 and 2, Envy 3, Shark 4, Bobby 5. How you feeling about your final list?
I mean, I think that's pretty good.
I think that's pretty good too. That's pretty solid list. All right, that is the blind player ranking with Tectonic.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the United States Air Force.
All right, everybody. Hopefully you are refreshed after our little break as we prepare to get into our second match of the day here in week 2 of the challenge season for Call of Duty Mobile in North America. We just watched OnMythic in a very clean and swift 3-0 solidify their spot in that upper bracket. And now we're going to be turning our attention towards NA Falloffs versus Stylum. I think there's been a lot of chatter here around NA Falloffs, Bobby. So talk to me a little bit about this team.
I mean, obviously, anybody who's watched North American competitive Call of Duty Mobile, or really any region, if you watch Stage 5, you're going to recognize the majority of these players. You've got Envy, you got Raballo, you got Washi. Vague's on the roster. I don't think he's going to be playing. Most people know technically he's retired, so for the most part he's playing on tablet, which is obviously not going to be played with in the competition. But there's a lot of talent on this roster. I don't know how seriously they're taking this, but there's no question they've got the talent, so I think regardless of how serious they're taking it, they should be able to advance.
I think all that competitiveness will kick in as soon as they get into their match up against Stylum here, Brody.
Yeah, we've taken a swing by the retirement home and picked up some old biddies. Now we've got our time on the other team, Stylum, some new kids on the block from Latin America. Of course, just like a lot of other teams that migrated, Mexican teams. This is another one of those teams. We saw them in open finals take down Kaya, not the same Kaya from season 5, 2-0, but they were pretty close maps. So this is, again, one of those situations. We've got a new team versus a very old team. And as Bobby already said, it's a very old and experienced team that we don't know how seriously they're going to take this. So I'm going to put it out there into the ethos that there is a chance here that Stylum could surprise, but it's pretty small. It's like that. Let's have it.
I feel like you're just saying that because you were surprised by OnMythic, so now you're covering all your bases.
Covering my butt, yeah.
As any good caster should, right? Well, I think they're going to answer some of those questions as we get into this series, starting things off with the Slums Hardpoint, Bobby.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to cast this one for the first time in a really long time. We've not seen Slums, the Hardpoint map pool, for quite some time, obviously getting thrown back into the rotation. This is one that players that are scrimming more recently might feel a little bit more comfortable. So depending on how much NA Falloffs have been playing, this is one that absolutely could bode very well for Stylum to get things started.
Yeah, I'm looking at the new maps in this best of 5, right? I mean, the Coastal is an opportunity for Stylum to maybe pick something away. As you said as well, Slum's an opportunity to do so. So yeah, I mean, the first half of this series, I'm actually feeling okay about this if I'm Stylum. It's when we get to the back half of the series, these are maps that Falloffs, again, if they play properly, will have been playing for a very long time. Like, if at this point, NA Falloffs don't know how to play raid control, let's be honest, apparently when they get to champs, they all of a sudden forget. You know, they should be fine. They'll be okay in this series. I'll be honest, I do doubt this goes to 5.
All right, well, we'll see what that experience can do for NA Falloffs, or if Stylum will be another surprise like we saw out of match number 1. But our players are locked and loaded, phones are charged and ready. So let's dive into match number 2.
All right, cheers. Well, I'll be honest, Bobby, you've disappointed me because you said that Vague isn't playing, and I would have given anything to see Vague back in the competition again. This guy said he was retired on Twitter. I saw him in open finals. I saw him on the roster sheet. I was like, this sneaky beaver, he's back on the team again. He's not playing, but they have added Jez and Band. Not too sure which of those two players we're going to see, if not maybe both of them in this series. Like, I don't know what roster we're expecting here.
From what I've seen, I believe Jez has been a lot more in the rotation as far as scrims go. There is a possibility that Ban could be in there as well, but I know one of the new additions is Shane, who is actually one of the newer pro players, and I believe that he's going to be playing with that squad today. So he's somebody to keep an eye out for. Obviously, across the board, you have the expected players in Raballo specifically, as he's been playing pretty much nonstop for the entirety of the last 2 months. But you can throw together just about any combination of those 7 players and have a decent chance of winning the series. Looks like it is going to be Raballo, Shane, Jez, Washi, and Envy. It's about what I would have expected, and Envy goes big off the start. A triple with the nade to get things started. Stylum does respond and find a few kills of their own. NA Falloff's going to find opening control of that hard point, but does not last long.
Yep, Stylum coming out here with the first opening gunfights. My expectations levels are kind of set pretty much at 0 here for Stylum, and that's not because I necessarily think they're not going to win per se, just because I think, you know, we got to see them versus Kaya play pretty well, but again, like, there's only so much you can ever take away from open finals competitions, open final matches, unless you're playing an established team, right? So expectations pretty much set at 0 here for Stylum. NA Falloffs, though, off the start of this game, we know what to expect from them. We should be expecting a key, consistent gameplay here in the Hardpoint, and for the most part, that's what we do get on P1. It is a little bit mixy. NA Falloffs not going to look better off the back of P1, but they will be getting the rotation towards P2. These back spawns, though, sometimes can be more of a curse than a gift.
Yep, we'll have to see what they can do right here. They hold them for the time being, and that's going to leave Stylum spawning across the map. Fiction looking to apply pressure right here. Jez tucked away in the corner, won't stay alive for long. They might be able to flip off that. 2 players push through. That is going to be NA Falloff spawning out right here. So that is a full break and a clean one at that for Stylum right here. Jez able to find one, Washi another, and Envy the third. Looks like a non-stop battle for these spawns, but maybe a little more time needed to be invested on actually breaking the hard point, as it looks like NA Falloff's not going to be able to do anything to convert off that spawn flip.
Yeah, that's not that great. Stylum now, the back spawns are theirs. I did say again, though, that's not the end of the world for a team approaching from the front of this hill, but you do have to win the gunfights. Graffido off the back of an early Tempest play will pick up some more frags here. Stylum now in control for this hill, and I've got a feeling, looking over towards the mini-map, that NA Falloffs are just going to give this up. Roto towards Nu. Now, traditionally here in Call of Duty, this hard point and the next one have been considered a money rotation. So NA Falloffs could come back into the game off the rotation from P3 to P4, but they have to hold both of these hard points.
Find a couple opening kills right there. Do find the breakthrough and get that control. Cost them a couple operators to do it, but still 3 charged and ready to go. You do still have that EMP system, but not really anything to worry about too terribly much as the death machine comes out. The pre-fire loses out to the claw in the hands of Envy. That's a huge kill, but the feed still goes blue right here. All down to Jez as he's going to be able to find one, but the final kill does not go his way. Raballo trying to see if he can be the one man breaking. He is. 3 straight, working on some streaks right here. And NA Falloffs trying their best not to fall too terribly far. Looks like they're going to be able to hold the hard point for the time being. Do a little bit of damage that had been done off the start for Stylum.
Yeah, I talked about those rotations as well. I was going to say that the positive here for Stylum at the very least is that they haven't quite lost those spawns just yet, but now they have. So NA Falloffs, big back push there towards that hard point, going to keep them in the game. But now we look over towards the new hard point. Stylum, they're fighting this one from the front. Equalizers out from Jez. Washi also with Annihilator. Shane going to bring the Predator missile down to try and help. Jez towards the hill, looking for kills. Will find Fiction, and it takes a few seconds for NA Falloffs to get control, but they do. Jez still a little bit of juice left in these equalizers as well, thinking he can probably get a little bit more value out of them, and, well, won't even get the chance to do so because his teammates are picking up all the frags, but it doesn't matter who picks them up. As long as NA Falloffs do, they have control of this hill.
One of the things about getting old is sometimes it takes you a little bit longer to get warmed up. That might be some of what NA Falloffs are suffering from, is the old men start off slow, but they have come out guns blazing on the back half of this first rotation. Washi's going to be able to find another one right there. Envy working on an EMP system of his own. He gets info off of that Pred, and he's going to be able to find another one right here as they have now completely flipped this game on its head. Info onto one more player right there as well, and he's got a claw ready to go if he wants it. Shane gonna pop the Tempest, finds the opening kill, finds another, make it 3 in the blink of an eye. Stylum have been completely wiped off the table, and I believe Envy has managed to earn that EMP system. NA Falloffs now in complete control of this one.
NA Falloffs have really started to take control of this game. We talk about where Stylum were at the end of really what, P2, maybe P3 rotation, and they had 60 to 70 points. So to see where we went from there to where we're at now, NA Falloffs have fully put their foot on the gas pedal, now fully in control. Stylum vying for some control over P1. Raballo out towards the middle of the map here to provide some coverage and cut these guys off from their spawn. That's not going to happen, but Washi through bricks is going to be able to take a couple of players down, and even on P1 you are forcing out operators. UG finds one with the War Machine. Stylum now looking for some more here, but you're just not getting it. 3 kills from Washi and NV. NA Falloffs will get the back 15 seconds. The saving grace here for Stylum, despite the fact that you don't have spawns, is that you did have a couple of players through. XD actually pushing back towards the point here. It's going to isolate some players for Stylum on the rotation, but they're going to get this roto anyway, and they're going to need it at this stage.
Yeah, only one player in the back right there, and Shane with the Odin. Not a gun you want to be going up against if you're trying to hold a heady, so they do some opening damage right here. Envy does get shut down off the opening push, so Stylum should be able to hold for the time being. Question is, how long does it last? This has been one of their better hard points off the opening rotation, but Rabalo's War Machine absolutely breaks through. He's going to be able to find 4, maybe 5. The Pred's going to drop as well. They've got no trophies down, and now Stylum in a bit of a reverse spawn trap right here. They finally flip out. But NA Falloffs, beauty of a break from the front side right there.
Yeah, that little spawn trap is what you need to be concerned about if you're the team on the defensive side of this hard point, because you can very easily get spawn trapped towards the back line. One player still hanging about the joint for NA Falloffs. That's going to be Shane, who does end up going down. They'll look for Envy to try and garner the scrap time here. Won't result in anything, so Stylum will be getting it and keeping themselves just about hanging in the game here versus NA Falloffs. But now we go towards New. Looking to cut these players off will be Jez. Equalizes out for him, finding immediate value versus Graffito. Players now starting to push through Graveyard, though. Washi has to deal with both of them, and unfortunately, we're only able to pick one. Stylum have broken through the front of this hard point, but they're going to deal with players on both sides.
Looks like for the time being, they're going to be able to hold the line as well. So Stylum maybe a little bit streaky, but they've been able to find good value out of those hard points they've been able to lock down. Washi breaks on through with Annihilator in hand. Nice little hop-up spot to try to get additional information. Takes down another. And NA Falloffs, not a whole lot of line of sight right here, but as long as they can keep them funneled down this alley, they should be able to hold control of this P3. Washi's going to earn a pred right there. And once again, NA Falloffs, whenever they've got going, have just rained down streaks. Shane's going to be able to find 2 right there. Does some damage. Washi, 1 with the Hunter Killer, 2 with the pred. And NA Falloffs just raining down kills. It's just been a question of when they've managed to chain them together. And it looks like they're back in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, I will say, and again, I think this is just because of the fact that NA Falloffs are unseasoned in certain moments, right? It feels like they're kind of just throwing everything at Stylum just for the fun of it. You know, they get a Predator missile, it almost immediately comes down. They get an Operator, it almost immediately comes out. And that has been working for them. Now looking for the rotational battles here. Shane trying to triple up, will only be allowed 2, but that's enough damage to give NA Falloffs early control over this through the smoke. Envy will be pre-firing. You've got Jez on the outside of this hard point as well. Rabalo now starting to go through with the War Machine. Wants to blow these players out of the water and out of this game. Is only going to get hit markers because Washi will be the one to find those fights. NA Falloffs now just 15 seconds away from winning this game. Rabalo shut down by UG. Jez now for the trade. Graffito will trade things back out in favor of Stylum. And Stylum not allowing this game to go NA Falloffs' way just yet.
Yeah, they find at least an opening right here to break on into the hard point. Shots through the smoke connect for Graffito. And they hold the line right here. It looks like should be able to avoid the end of this one, but Shane finds 2 to open things up right here. Damage is done onto Washi, and they should be able to find those trades, but Jez breaks through with the hip fire. Stylum still managed to take the scrap time, and Shane gonna get shut down. So Stylum, at least a hope at taking this one and at least trying to force things forward a little bit, but there's just so much yellow in the feed. You gotta wonder if they've got enough margin for error to have a chance. Shane's gonna pop the Tempest right here. Graffito does the same, and Envy's gonna be able to find 2 as the feed once again goes yellow. But NA Falloffs have not done a great job of occupying the hard point. Finally make their way on. Now all those operators gonna pop. They go ahead, zone all of the outer area, and I think there's just too much firepower on the field for Stylum to have a chance in this one. NA Falloffs take the opening map.
Yeah, they certainly did try there towards the end. I think it was Equalizers coming out from Fiction in the closing moments of the game, but could not get through Blue because Jez was pre-firing with it. 3 operators in those closing moments. And again, it's not the cleanest of hardpoint victories from NA Falloffs, right? They have to work for it, I think, a downside more than I necessarily expected them to do so, but ultimately they do win out. And I think you said it in the middle of the game, right? I think it's when they can chain together kills as a roster, and be it with just the weaponry, be it with operators, or be it with streaks, doesn't matter how they get it done. When that occurs, that's when they get map control, that's when they get game control. And there were so many moments in that game from both the early game and also the second half of the game as well, where NA Falloffs did manage to wake up and step it up a notch, and every single time that happened, Stylum just did not have a response. I've got a feeling when we go to the end scoreboard here, there is going to be a massive difference in the slaying category, and it feels like that is totally the case. 42 kills is the top fragging number from Rabalo, almost over 2 minutes inside the hardpoint as well. Mr. Do-It-All in that game.
Yep, no question about it. He's been putting more hours, even if it's not necessarily in scrims. He's been putting more hours into COD Mobile than just about anyone in the world, and it's definitely showing right there. I mean, his war machines just constantly find massive value. He pretty much single-handedly broke that P2 from the front side, and big performance out of him. Like you said, on the flip side, you got one player going positive, and that player had a whopping 20 seconds in the hard point. So Stylum just a bit outmatched in that one. With that being said, the downside of North American competitive Call of Duty Mobile over the last couple of years has been their search and destroy. These players have not been super locked in getting reps in that search. So we'll see if maybe there's a chance for Stylum to actually take some maps in this series. And I think if they can look dominant enough in that search and destroy, maybe a chance that they can bounce back in the later maps.
Yeah, and we talked about it, right? I think, when we looked at the maps earlier on, that ultimately it does feel like the win condition in this game is winning those early maps, right? The new additions to the map pool, that's where the advantage is for Stylum, because even a roster as well polished as NA Falloffs, with the amount of experience they have on roster, will not have as much of an advantage on the newer maps, right? They will just have less practice. That's how it works. Slums is now off the board, so that's gone. Now you need to at least take away 2 of the most common maps here towards the back half of the series to actually do anything versus Falloffs. That's a big ask for sure. We do have one coming up though, Coastal Search and Destroy, the newest addition to the Search and Destroy map pool. This is going to be interesting. At this point in the series, I think with NA Falloffs starting to feel themselves a little bit, they are warmed up after game number 1. Are we just expecting them to come out flying as Stylum?
I would think so, and I think they've got a justifiable amount of confidence heading into this one, just with the amount of hours that they have combined on this game. We'll see if it converts as smokes go down right here, but Envy connects with the collat through the smoke. Another player shut down, and it looks like maybe some more reps here on Coastal is a very strong setup on the A side is going to absolutely obliterate Stylum to take the opening round.
Envy, apparently Matt Murdock with the Tundra. Doesn't even need to see where he's shooting that thing, just shoot and hope for the best. I'll tell you what, Envy being one of the best snipers in North America, just brilliant. Washi also pretty damn good with the thing. We'll pick up first blood in this round. Stylum now starting to run out of options, and the round's barely begun. Envy with aggression. First kill good. Surely not a quick step on. Wants the second. Envy does it again.
You got to think at some point Stylum makes some adjustments right here, because you've gotten absolutely smoked on that mid push both times. I would be surprised to see it a third time, as Washi's going to find that pick across mid once again. And NA Falloffs looking pretty damn locked in this one as they take the 2-0 lead. Only 2 kills to be had through the entire first 2 rounds for Stylum. Both of those going to Klein Cita. We'll see if we get a different look right here. Definitely not going to full send it up the middle this time. Probably a good adjustment. This time going to send a little bit more pressure toward the A side.
Yeah. Don't be experiencing Washi Toppy through the middle of the map, that's for sure. NA Falloffs starting strong, and Washi's going to find it regardless. A little reposition to pick up Yuji in that round. And Stylum stuck in the mud once again. 4 versus 4 this time. Ecstasy, the best player for Stylum, back in open finals for sure in that series versus Kaya to qualify. We'll now look to set things up for the team. But you can just see, I mean, the apprehension right now for Stylum. They are terrified, and I would be as well. You're losing every single fight. Envy's doing tricks on them. That's another couple of kills. Slime now having to back away. It would be a prospective 1 versus 4, and NA Falloffs are done messing around. Jez for the R9 for the final kill in the round. NA Falloffs, that's 3 in a row now.
I mean, their snipers are locked in. I think if they needed to, Washi and Envy could maybe 2v5 this entire game with the way that they've been playing right now. Stylum trying to make adjustments. This time they're going to full send it on over to B. Cannot blame them one bit. They have gotten ripped to shreds on every A push. No trophies down to open things up right here, but they actually managed to break on through. Unfortunately, Jez is there. He's going to be able to find one, and that's all his team needed out of him. Another player is going to drop, and with the damage that Envy's done so far, that's a huge pick for Stylum. Washi going to back up and not able to get the planter off that exit, so it's going to be a lot more difficult to open things up here for NA Falloffs. More than likely, Raballo going to be the first point of contact, although Washi looking to get aggressive.
Yep. Washi and Raballo versus the world. Well, just 4 players inside sight. There goes one. Washi looking pretty good. Has to get it to the pistol to grab that frag. Raballo will follow up with another one. Overwhelmed by Ecstasy. Just 14 seconds on the clock now. For Shane, has to very quickly get towards the site and pick up the frags. It's just not going to happen. Finally, a round on the board here for Stylum. And I think really by way of just changing up the strat a little bit, right? Just a team play in towards the site. They've been hitting A over and over again. They finally changed things up and hit B. And it is absolutely the perfect play call. Stylum on the board.
Yeah. Very well executed right there. The question is, the NA Falloffs make any adjustments right here? You got to think more utility going forward. And Jez now very pushed up with that R9 in hand. He does the opening damage. Not going to be able to find another there. But the damage has been done, and that's completely warded off that opening push.
Yep.
He's made his way forward with the sniper in hand, so some semblance of map control as he spots out Raballo. Not going to be able to connect, though. Big time information right there, but got to find a way to pick up that kill, and now a smoke down. Might be able to make their way through mid, and they do exactly that.
Trades is good, though, from Raballo, and for Stylum, once again, they just feel stunted at the moment. Early play call from Jez to move forward with the R9 was everything. Good kills coming out from Fiction, though. All of a sudden here, the KRM doing a lot of damage. That's Jez out of the round. And Stylum, they couldn't get it done at the start of the round, but they have managed to now get control of B. It's a good old honest 2 versus 2. But honestly, with Envy being one of the players on the other side, I would not be feeling confident that I could win this. They're just going to take their time. Surveying the site for the moment here are Shane and Envy. Just trying to check every single viable corner. Fiction and Klein keeping an eye on each other's cross. Here we go. Push starting to go through. Envy with the initial trade out. Nice kills from Klein and Fiction. Good team shots. You've spotted out Shane as well. Dead 2 rights. That is perfect team play and a great way to get back in and around. You probably shouldn't have won if you're a Stylum.
Absolutely. And that's a tough cross to break through because you got to at least take out one player off the opening shot. If you don't do that, the round's pretty much over right there. You would think some adjustments right here, as we do see 2 players once again going on over to the B side, but this time they're getting aggressive. There's nobody there for Stylum, but may provide an opportunity to hit a flank right there as NA Falloffs know nobody going on over to that B side. Envy this time not connecting with opening shots, still finds a way to find one, but 2 kills go through for Stylum. They equalize things here into a 3v3, and Bomb Planter should have been able to make his way forward. Bomb goes down right here. Now the pressure on for the retake. Big opening gunfights, but they go the way of NA Falloffs. 1 player left to clutch. It's going to be Yuhi. Not going to be able to make it happen. Shane closes out the round and should be able to find the defuse right here.
Shane. Stop. Stop it. The amount of times that I've seen search and destroys where early on a player likes to get a bit cheeky, starts to play a little bit, shooting bodies, just mess about in the rounds. It can all go wrong, trust me. Sometimes you lose charge of your phones. Disconnect happens, you know. Not going to happen there, though. NA Falloffs 4-2 off the defensive rounds for them. Stylum now. At least have, I think, stabilized just a little bit. Those first 3 rounds were difficult, I think, for Stylum to swallow, but they seem to have made the necessary adaptations. Now on towards the defense. What happens here? Because things are spread pretty thinly, and even for NA Falloffs on the other side, right, they are just trying to catch some vibes at the moment. Play slowly, get a feel for where Stylum are at on the defense, and then pick it apart from there. They are taking their time.
Yep. Once again, very different approach from what we saw on the flip side, and NA Falloffs just trying to bait out a little bit of information right here. Stylum doing a great job of staying home, not overextending. Yuhi not going to be able to spot anything on that opening peak. It's really all on the snipers to try to poke a hole in this defense, and Graffito likely going to be the first player with that responsibility. I don't think Washi meant to do that. Nade's going to explode outside the doorway, and once again, all that does is give Stylum a bit more information.
Stylum still haven't figured things out here. On the defense, NA Falloffs still trying to get a feel for what's going on. They're very swiftly down to 40 seconds in the round. Before long, they have to make a move. They have to make a comp. It feels like it's been made. It's going to be a B hit. The world on your shoulders. If you're Fiction inside the site, how do you deal with it? Jez with the initial push here. Fiction down for the count. Can the trade comes through from Graffito? It does, but Shane right back at you. That is site control for NA Falloffs, and Washi gets another one as well.
Phenomenal execution right there. They storm it. They get the bomb down. Now 3 players left for the retake. He does the opening damage to take down Shane, but still so much that they got to deal with. And with how tightly packed this B site is, it's going to be really tough to break through. And especially with Washi holding that doorway, now makes things nearly impossible for Klein Sita. Washi going to be able to find another pick right there. That's now 8 on the board for him. And NA Falloffs continue to dominate here as they take the opening round here on the offensive side.
Yeah, and NA Falloffs really did take their time to survey what the defense looks like. Opening info from Washi will be that now 2 players have made their way over towards B. Has to be said, that's not exactly a different look from Stylum. It is the exact same setup as before. Vito trying to help out both with the mid-cut and B. But if I'm honest, I think the preferable play would actually be to have Graffito in sight, because that was the problem for Stylum in the previous round. They lost B site control down to the fact that Fiction was so easily overwhelmed. Bringing out the exact same setup again is not going to make things any different, but the opening look has been made. Fiction will now make the comp. Graffito, I need help. And help has now arrived. So now it's a little bit more palatable over towards B. But NA Falloffs, they still technically speaking have the option to go A here.
And Envy gets spotted out right there, but assuming the shot did not connect, he's going to be able to back up. Now a little bit of a pre-fire shot right there to give Graffito that information. NA Falloffs just not really wanting to overcommit here, but at some point you got to pick a spot and look for the breakthrough. They're going to continue to make their way forward. And if they can clear Ecstasy right here, could be absolutely crucial. Envy's going to find one onto Graffito, and that's Washi doing the rest of the damage. You see everybody collapsing right here. One player remains on B, but it just doesn't matter where they're set up. The snipers continue to shred through this Stylum squad. Washi and Envy combine for 20 kills as NA Falloffs now 1 round away from going up 2-0 in the series.
Stylum fold like a house of cards. I can't believe what I've just witnessed. Even an early game, Coastal, NA Falloffs just ran through the middle of the map like that. That's not okay. Not good coverage. I think especially from XT in the middle of the map, you lose Graffito there down to the fact that XT wasn't keeping his teammates back. NA Falloffs now just 1 round away. And you're right to call out the sniper prowess right now for Washi and for Envy. 20 kills for the snipes is absolute insanity. Shane wants to get taste of the action through the middle of the map here. Might well have a freebie versus Ecstasy, and absolutely does. That's the opening pick once again. Stylum now split between the 2 sites. Raballo nade over the top. That's 1 player taken out of A. Slowly but surely, Stylum are starting to lose their footing in this round.
I don't even feel like it's necessarily fantastic game plan for NA Falloffs, but they've just won so many of those opening engagements and breaking down those Stylum players one by one as the bomb goes down over on the A side. Nobody remotely close. You got Washi just watching the entirety of the mid-map right here. Should be able to find one. He's not going to find that one, but gets the information onto the other player, and now Fiction left all alone in a 1v4. And I think at this point, he's probably just trying not to get executed. Jez going to push forward right here. Shotgun does come out, but Raballo not going to play around with his food as NA Falloffs now go up 2-0 in the series.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think this is about as gone just as well as I expected, to be honest, between these two teams. No disrespect to Stylum, because at the moment I think they are just getting outplayed in a variety of different situations, and that Search and Destroy, I will say, did evolve over time. I think down to the fact that Stylum had made the necessary adaptations, right? I think it's fair to say, first 3 rounds were super duper aggressive, Washi and Envy just basically running riot. There was 10 kills in those first 3 rounds for those guys, by the way, which is absolute insanity. As Stylum started to stabilize a little bit, though, there were those 2 rounds back-to-back where they had made those necessary adaptations. It was NA Falloffs to step it up just a notch. And then I think as we switch side on the offense, I will say NA Falloffs, they did show a little bit more respect for Stylum on defense, right? They weren't being super aggressive. We saw it, I think it was in round number 7 off the first offensive round for NA Falloffs, where they were taking their time. Like, they were just surveying. They were like, look, let's not play stupid here. Let's actually figure out what the defensive setup looks like for Stylum before making the move. And that informed the next 2 rounds, which, of course, inevitably led to NA Falloffs walking away with victory. Look at the endgame scoreboard then, and surprise, surprise, Washi comes out on top with 12 frags to his name. Shout out to the snipes in that game, man. Just absolutely insane. You got 2 of the best sniper players in North America on the same roster. It feels like it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, and you gotta keep in mind, like, Washi, while he may not be at the same dominance he used to be, was at one point in time considered one of the best, if not the best snipers in the world. So he's absolutely still got it. Obviously, still questions of, are they going to be able to maintain this level of dominance up against some of the more experienced teams? Obviously, they do still have to find a way to close out the series, but once again, now heading into Control, where a team as experienced as they are should feel pretty comfortable, especially with the way things have looked so far in this one.
Yep, this has been a great series. If you're in NA, do NA Falloffs have fans? Can we say there's like an NA Falloff fan club? Would you describe yourself as...
There's Robalo fans in chat.
Robalo fans in chat? Well, if you're a Robalo fan in chat, hey, this is the series for you. NA Falloffs are having a whale of a time here. They're skating through the series. If you're a Stylum fan, again, not too sure if that exists. If you're a Stylum fan, this has not been that great. Again, the win condition we kind of gave to Stylum was that they could maybe take NA Falloffs on the newer maps in the rotation, because you're certainly not going to take them against NA Falloffs on the older maps. We go in a raid control. This has literally been in the map set forever. If these guys don't know how to play raid control at this point, they probably should not be playing Call of Duty Mobile anymore. Stylum really up against it here. They have to pull off the reverse sweep if they want to take out the Titanic NA Falloffs roster.
All right. Falloff's going to be on defense to start in this one. Utility all across the mid-map, and only one player here to defend. That's going to be Robalo. He's going to be immediately shut down. Players sneaking through mid for NA Falloffs. That's Washi and Jez to do the damage, and Fiction spotted out right there. Jez moving on him to absolutely clear off the B zone. That's 1 kill to 5 to get things started right here. It looks like they're looking to get aggressive to set up that spawn trap early.
Stylum already down 5 lives in this round. Trade will not help that situation ultimately, but Stylum do clear out a little bit of pressure towards bedroom side, so path has now opened up. Stopping the clock here. Graffito taken down from Robalo. Now back towards ring. Does Robalo go? Looking for some more value. Will not find it, but NA Falloffs decide now's the time to hit from behind. Jez up front and personal with the SMG will find a couple of kills. Washi on the flank will not actually find any value whatsoever. That's a big kill to lose, because now Stylum can hop on to this point. NA Falloffs will have to hit the reset here if they want to get back towards it and stop it. Big first frag on towards Graffito from Shane. Clock still going. NA Falloffs setting themselves up for the flanking play. Now just down to Jez. Slowly but surely, Stylum are making this capture happen. Jez has to activate here and has to do it with great effect. There we go. There goes Graffito. Still just one more player to contend with. It is usually right below the window, but damage has been done here. B will not be captured for Stylum.
Jez just so slippery, so difficult to deal with, and regardless of how many kills he has, as long as he's alive, he's going to keep people guessing. XC going to be able to find a kill and the majority of the damage onto another player. So the lives have been equalized right here. But if you're Stylum, your main focus has got to be getting one of these zones captured. You got a decent amount of progress on both. Very quick stack here onto B, and it looks like, or rather onto A, they're going to be able to get a lot of progress, but finally do get shut down right there. Yuhi with the trade. It looks like they're actually going to get A locked in, and Shane Gonna be the lone man here to defend the opening push. Big first point of contact right here, and he's going to be able to find that kill. That gives them the life lead. Now up 3 lives, make it 4 as Jez going to find another, and it looks like NA Falloffs do survive this opening onslaught, barring a miracle from Stylum.
I will say, even in a 3 versus 6, the fact that they've only got 1 tick of progression required on towards B makes this a plausible situation. They've also got time to work with, right? So they can eke some mistakes out of NA Falloffs, perhaps. They also have 1 operator in the back pocket if they so wish to bring it out. And this is one of those situations in a 3 versus 5 where I necessarily wouldn't hate it. Play call has been made. Ecstasy's going to be the flanking player. He'll be having to face Washi and Envy on this push. Shots out towards Envy. Would have liked a clean fight there. It's not going to happen. Envy survives the joust and backs away. The Stylum now, I talked about them having over a minute to work with here. Now they've just got 35 seconds, but usually picks Envy off. Now the 3 versus 4, so all of a sudden, Stylum making this look a lot more plausible, but you need that trade. Jez taking down Ecstasy makes this all more untenable.
They got those operators, but it's just not worth the risk at this point. Jez going to be able to drop 1. All down to Yuhi as he's taken down right there. So NA Falloffs win the round, but definitely not in a convincing way. Especially how strong they looked off the start right there. We'll see if they can flip sides and on the offense maybe be a bit more convincing. They've got 4 operators to work with. And you got that War Machine for Raballo that has been so lethal for them so far. Envy across mid going to be able to land shots through smoke. Jez popping the equalizers. And the opening damage has been done as they've got a lot of map control and a lot of real estate to work with over toward B.
Yep, this is a full investment coming out from NA Falloffs now. Jez wants to do some serious damage and behind the flank. Cause some chaos to Stylum. Graffiti was keeping an eye out for it, but Shane's going to take him down. Finally, Jez will no longer have the equalizers, but damage has been done. All the while, Washi has been sort of silently capturing B all by his lonesome. He is, technically speaking, still under threat towards the B zone. Klein's going to walk away, though, for the moment here. Stylum feel the biggest issue would potentially be losing B and then almost immediately losing A, so they're putting a lot of effort to making sure that doesn't happen. Flanking play from Jez could have blown it wide open, but it will not, and it kind of feels like Washi just got the B point for free. It was just like, yeah, I guess I'll just put my feet up on B and hope for the best.
Yep. That gives them a lot of time to work with as now there's 2 minutes on the clock. Raballo's going to be able to find 1 as now we start to see some of those operators come out for Stylum. Fiction, Equalizer, seeing what he can find. Shane, Tempest, not a ton of value, but makes his way on the point. Gets shut down right there, and NA Falloff still trying to keep a little bit of cushion right here with this life lead. Fiction calls in those equalizers in a place he's not going to find a whole lot of value, but Kleinsida with the death machine at least wards off the opening push from NA Falloffs. Graffito, Tempest looking for something as the death machine's taken off the table, and a 7 life lead and a minute and a half to work with. NA Falloffs got to be feeling comfortable, but still could work with a little bit more map control.
Yeah, it's the life differential between these two teams right now. I think that's the biggest issue. It kind of looming over Stylum with almost 1 minute 20 on the clock. There's almost no way that it doesn't come down to lives at this stage in the round. Shane and Envy will combine for 2. Graffiti, Ecstasy, and Yuhi left alone in this situation. The former of those 2 players do find a little bit of value, but there goes Ecstasy. War Machine being pulled out from Yuhi right now to try and salvage this round. I'll be honest, I don't like it. I think, you know, forehead obvious statement, but like, why are you War Machining in a 1 versus 13? Like, yeah, the War Machine's great. I don't even think it has 13 pellets.
Yeah, you'd need a lot of double and triple kills. I just don't think there's even enough time for players to respawn for that. And so, obviously, the game is a long shot at this point, but that certainly didn't give you any better of a chance. Envy's going to pop the claw early, as it's once again NA Falloffs getting aggressive early in the round. 2 operators in play as Raballo able to find 1 with the War Machine, make it 2 right there, and that is 6 opening kills, make it 7 for NA Falloffs. Completely in the driver's seat from start to finish in this one. And Shane, one of those newer players in North America, looking to make a name for himself. Certainly looking strong here as he's got 16 kills to his name. And they are absolutely wiping the floor with Stylum to close this one out.
And not even really doing it with operators as well. It has to be said, they utilized so much in that last round that NA Falloffs don't have them to work with here. Don't even need them. Stylum being bullied here in this round. 40 seconds on the board for them to pull out something special. NA Falloffs continue to oppress. Spawn trap that we haven't seen in quite some time also now starting to come out from NA Falloffs here on raid control. Players no choice but to go back from, I think some players have even put down their phones. 30 seconds on the board kit. Little push from Stylum on towards a point. Fiction found out though. Washi and Envy going to be the ones to find those frags. Just down to Klein. He will only find one kill. Bobby, this feels like it's done.
Yep. You got players just trapped in that garage area. Envy's still gonna find one more. Nearly had a two-piece as it's 21v1. Graffito, nowhere to go. Not much of a chance. He gets a lucky vehicle explosion to find the kill right there, but Stylum really didn't seem to have a realistic chance right there, and the experience absolutely showed out for NA Falloffs.
Yeah, and that was a good control as well. Just like fundamentally speaking, it's what we always talk about, right? You know, in the basics of Call of Duty Mobile sometimes is just getting your operators right, and we go from a round number one clutch up, which is what it was. It's fair. Like Stylum actually had to work for round number one, as did NA Falloffs. Going into round number two, though, we saw a triple operate usage coming out. That set the stage, I think, for a total dominant round. You see that here in the life differential between the two teams at the end of round number two, and then even in round number three, man. I mean, it's just fundamentals. The way these guys play as a team when they want to try is you guys were seeing it there in that round number three. A phenomenal kill differential between these two teams. Jez 24 and 11, 20 and 13 from Shane. Everybody firing on all cylinders, of course. Ravallo also up there at 18 and 6. And on the other side, the likes of Klein, Fiction, and Ecstasy all shut down. Totally not even really in that control. NA Falloffs setting the precedent right now for what we should be expecting from this team.
Yeah, and once again, it goes down to the amount of experience that they've got. You got anybody that can pop off at any point in time, and they showed it in that one.
Yeah, I mean, we had big expectations of them, but also weren't sure what they were going to be bringing to the table. And I think that they showed exactly why we were hoping that they would show us what that experience can do at this level of competition. They stay alive in that upper bracket, and in the future, we'll face off against OnMythic for one of those spots into the challenge finals. Whoever loses that matchup will eventually drop down into the lower bracket and face off against the winner of our next match. If you guys at home are just joining us, Stylum did just lose to NA Falloffs, but once again, they are not out of the competition. You saw them drop down into that lower bracket, and they've one more opportunity to stay alive. They'll be facing off against ARP now in the final match of the day. So we'll have to see which of our teams can bounce back from a loss a little bit better, which of these two is better prepared for their maps. But either way, it's still going to be a good competition. Fighting for that last spot, because this is do or die, Bobby. We get through these fast, okay? We are eliminating a team already for Group B, so they have to fight with everything they have.
Yeah, no question about it. I think ARP should feel rejuvenated just because they've had a little bit of time to bounce back, maybe to look back at some VOD and see what mistakes were happening. Unfortunately, if you are Stylum, you don't get any time. You got to head straight into it and just pray that your map picks are there to be able to make the adjustments that you need to have a chance in this one. I don't think that you have to feel terribly uncomfortable because you're going up against an ARP that I think certainly underperformed in their matchup. So I don't think it's over by any means, but you definitely got to lock in and hit the reset.
Well, speaking of those map picks, we have to give our teams a little bit of time to do that before we dive into match number 3, which means it's time for another short break. But when we return, one team will be sent home from the competition and one will stay alive in that lower bracket. Don't go anywhere.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the United States Air Force.
Talk me more about kind of how over the last year, especially with this most recent COD Mobile Championships being dominated by Eastern teams, talk me more about how that dynamic has shifted and maybe even separated further, kind of looking at how the Eastern teams have built an identity that has been very successful compared to what the West was running with. And maybe Tech, just kind of starting with you, since you have experience in playing in both regions.
After traveling to India, you kind of, you get into that mindset of like, you're playing everyone. I feel like India was like the very best place to play from, mainly because you could play China, you could play Europe. I mean, if you wanted to play NA, your middle ground is Europe. You play Philippines, you play Japan. I think being there was like you're more involved into the competitive nature rather than NA. You know, you have LATAM, and nobody likes playing Europe in NA. I'm gonna be honest, not good practice, and it's like. What are you supposed to do in the West? Like that's the real question. You play 1 year for one event because they maybe two, but over in the East, you know, they have the Chinese league, CDM, CDSI, CDFI. They have their own little Asian league. It's like it's more involved for the players, and the West just has not caught up to that whatsoever.
So you're saying more along the lines of the amount of opportunity has helped develop the East, maybe more so than the play style differences that inherently have been kind of created?
Yeah, so I think a big thing with the West is like they just want to be involved in something, but there's nothing for them to be involved in. You know, there's no incentive to like, oh, I want to play the game, like I want to be better, I want to compete versus these people. Like there's none of that in NA, and I've competed in NA for a long time. I can tell you nobody has that, for sure.
Bob, you want to follow up? I know because you had a little bit of a jump start with running your own opportunity, you know, with Mobile Mayhem, trying to get that off the ground and try to create more opportunities. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a number of different factors. I think the decrease in NA viewership following kind of their fall off, I would kind of say after 2022, that's contributed to the difficulty of running grassroots esports for COD Mobile, because at the end of the day, like viewership drives sponsors make tournaments possible. So if you don't have the funding to, number one, be able to provide prize pools, and number two, be able to actually hire staff, there's not really any way that you can run a successful league without funding directly from COD Mobile. So I think that combined with the cost of living, especially in North America, makes it really, really difficult for anybody to really consider themselves a pro player, which is why we've seen pro players go to other regions. Number one, because there's more esports support. Like I think especially as far as mobile gaming, there's not a lot of mobile orgs, or at least orgs that take mobile seriously. We've seen them see it as an opportunity to try to get some viewership, and then it hasn't panned out because COD Mobile Esports hasn't been thriving to the point where they thought it was going to be, and so they dip after a year or 6 months or whatever it is. So I think having that established league like you have in CDM, or like, I know that this is something that's going to be happening year round. I know this is something that is going to drive viewership to my brand, and they're willing to invest into players to actually give them the funding that they need to be able to play at the level they want to. But if you're all self-funded, like the majority of NA, the majority of EU, the majority of LATAM, and you've only got a couple tournaments a year that are not going to be able to provide enough for you to really make a living off of it unless you come in first place at the end of the World Championships, it's just really difficult to justify making it your full-time job. And that's why I think we've started to see, or we've really continued to see, that gap grow between the East and the West, is because like Tectonic also said, like you're a little bit limited in who you can play against, but ultimately the biggest factor is the funding and the backing, and none of the Western teams really have that right now.
Perfect segue to you, Hippo, as being, you know, a coach who's on the back end, more of the kind of managerial logistical side, not just in the individual playing base that we often obviously assume that we kind of talk about with the esports space. What's your thoughts on that whole dynamic?
Yeah, because I fully agree with both Bobby and Tech here, because, you know, I've worked with teams both in the East and the West, and the attitudes between them in terms of how willing they are in terms of to put in extra hours outside of the game and down the line. It's not just a matter of I think there is a matter of willpower to a certain degree as well, but it's more so also, I think that comes, the root of it is just the culture. Because in the East, if I ask like players from Blacklist when I used to work with them to, you know, put in extra hours into the game, I mean, some of them do streaming, some of them do actually, you know, are proactive about this, and they have a huge fan base, and there's multiple tournaments that are happening through Garena Masters that makes it so that they have a huge incentive. And as kind of Bobby pointed out, which I think is a massive point with regards to cost of living, for them being able to just run into like just win or just even place at a Garena Masters is pretty much sufficient for them to, regardless of their salary, to be able to actually just have a pretty decent living over in the Philippines, for example, comparative to in North America. If you took that amount of money, it wouldn't really mean much. You might not be even able to pay your rent, to be honest. And so just given that alone, I think it's very difficult to be able to grow teams in the West. Back when it was like 2022, 2020, like even up to maybe 2023, where the West was still thriving. I was able to nag players like Techie here to put in a little bit of extra work, but they still had to maintain their own living, which made it so that I couldn't get as much out of them as I wish I could in terms of whether it be extra hours or extra VODing or otherwise. But with the East now, regardless of what team in the East that you ask, it's very different. It's just this is their job, this is their work. If you look at CDM, it's effectively a franchise, really. It's effectively a CDL to a certain degree, where they have these teams that are set. They're getting everything set for them in terms of housing, in terms of living, and otherwise their necessary expenses, and they're just getting paid to work and play COD Mobile and and study the game. And so it's and same with over in the Philippines or wherever else in Garena. It's pretty much they get paid a good amount, enough for them to justify doing this as their life. But over here, you have teams, and I think that there's a lot of players that have so much potential, actually, that are still in the West. I mean, if you just look at Latin America, you have Glories, you have the players from free agents that are, all phenomenally talented players and have a long history. But then you also have in NA, I mean, Undream actually, is a group of really talented players as well. But, they just all can't get the support. And also, most importantly, they can't actually interact with the other play styles that have been dominating, which if we're going to reel it back to the play style discussion, I think the part of the reason why the West can't actually keep up right now is because they're so restricted within each other. And they're all just imitations at best of the East. And, but there's, and Tech can attest to this, there's a difference between actually playing the original, compared to playing someone that's trying to copy it, That's fair. And so just from that alone, I think that makes it so that the kind of difference is only going to get bigger rather than smaller, as there's not much opportunity for Western teams to be able to actually interact with the Eastern teams, which is not just a matter of like server issues of not being able to, experience, playing against teams in Garena because of the fact that they're different, apps and down the line, but it's also ping, making it so that it's so difficult, when you have such large differences in ping and servers and down the line, like how can players feel like encouraged to actually play on that ping, but then B, simultaneously they feel like it's just, are they actually feeling like they're actually getting something out of it when the ping is so high, right? Like is what they're actually doing working, or is it the ping that's working, right? In terms of winning their gunfights or not. So
the age-old question when it comes to online Call of Duty. Trust me, that's not exclusive to mobile. Exactly. Let's just take the conversation to its kind of climactic and ending point here, and just reround all this conversation into what's immediately coming up with Season 6, focusing, let's just use the Western region in a whole, whether you want to talk EU, NA, or Latin America. What are your guys' general expectations, not maybe just for each individual region, but how those regions and the Western Hemisphere in total may stack up this year comparatively to years prior against what is now the reigning champion in Elevate, and of course the rest of the Chinese teams that were rounding out our playoffs from last year. Bobby, what are you thinking about the West and each of the regions?
I mean, for the West, I'm really looking at, I guess now it's not LATAM, it's South America, as they've moved Mexico into North America. But I feel like LATAM are the region that do stand a realistic chance of developing to the point where they could be able to compete against those Eastern regions. I think they do have a lot of talent there, and I think a lot of it is just having the funding. They do have more time that they can actually spend putting time into the game. Galoris obviously going to be the team that everybody's looking at. They've been the kings of the LATAM region for a long time. It just didn't really translate to the main stage last year. And going back to the server issue, I know that it's really hard for them because they don't even get good ping against North American teams. So they're very isolated relative to the rest of the world, but there's a lot of talent there. I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do in the upcoming season. And I think that's going to be probably the most well-rounded team, just because we have seen some of the talent dispersion from some of those NA and EU teams to go to other regions. LATAM is the one that's really stuck together, maybe because of language differences more than anything else, but I think that will serve them in the long run to be able to continue to grow and advance. And obviously, going back to the SKS and the Type 63 getting unbanned, the LATAM teams were the ones that were really dominating with that meta, so that could be a change that really favors them in the long run.
Tech, who are you looking at in the Western regions? Any teams you want to keep an eye on, whether it be EU, NA, or Latin America?
Yeah, I think Glories is a favorite no matter what out of the West. Inside of North America, I think there's probably two teams that are, worth mentioning. It's Undream and then the Seminole roster. Curious on how the Seminole roster is going to go, because I know you can do like roster changes and all. So it is possible they roster change. Like our team didn't, get through. So Jez and Marshy is also up for grabs. I could see them going to Seminole if anything was to happen. That would be, most reasonable.
Yeah, because I think Vague's on that team, but he's retired and playing on iPad. So I would not be surprised if they ended up picking up Marshy or Jez in his place, just because I also don't think that he wants to put a ton of time in as far as scrims. I could be wrong on that one, but I would not be surprised if they made that roster swap.
Yeah. And Europe, I'm going to be honest, Europe is just Europe. I like some of the people there, but like team-wise, man, I'm not really going to pay attention to Europe.
Dang, not high in the Frenchies, huh?
I love Marvel.
Hippo, what are you thinking? Who you got your eye on in the Western Hemisphere?
It's the same thing as what Bobby and Tech said. It's mostly just Glories, Undream, maybe Seminole. I think, though, Free Agents, I think, is also worth mentioning as another, up-and-coming Brazilian team. They've shown that they can fight against Glories, maybe not necessarily, fully win a series yet, but they can, still put pressure on them, which I think, speaks volumes in terms of their ability and talent as a roster, for sure. And, so I'm just really excited to see, whether they're able to kind of dig through the trenches of, being unfortunately put into the Western Hemisphere and in the ecosystem that they are in. But I don't think that it's impossible either. Just from the struggles that Glories had by themselves as is, they managed to get top 4 at the World Championship, which is nothing to scoff at by any means. So I think it'll be really cool to see them, keep pushing it, especially because now they've gone through 1 full year of being in the same roster, but now they're pressing into year 2, and that difference is actually huge. Just 1 year versus 2 years of being together, actually.
100%. All right. Well, that's going to conclude our first episode of what we're calling the Call of Duty Mobile Roundtable. Spoiler alert, there is no table, and if we had one, it wouldn't be round. But that's Bobby, Tech, Hippo, I'm Shiv. Thanks for tuning in, and of course, enjoy Season 6. Bye-bye.
Been down before, but now I'm better than I've ever been. Through all adversity, I saw the light down at whatever the problem, we'll solve them. Make it through together, it'll be all love, and it's all good. And it's all good. Feel like I'm the big dog, been killing it since tip off. Come with it or stay home, the people gon' feel ripped off. It's only major leaguers in the office. If you giving half of an effort around the rest of us, you'll make it awkward. I'm about that action, not the one you talk with. You better hope I'm not the one your coach gon' have you out here really guarding. It took a lot for me to get here, but I have arrived. I really made it, and the haters be looking surprised. Been down before, but now I'm better than I've ever been. Through all adversity, I saw the light down at whatever the problem, we'll solve them. Make it through together, it'll be all love, and it's all good. And it's all good.
They say pressure makes diamonds. That's what I align with, cause the journey I be climbing is riddled with perfect timing. I'm in a different mode when I be trying to get it. To even get a chance to compete is a form of winning. I mean, what's the point of playing if we ain't striving for greatness? I feel a sense of pride with every play that I'm making. To the top of the world when I came for the basement. Boy, I'm the one and not the two, so don't get it mistaken.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the United States Air Force.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for hanging with us as we dive into the Snapdragon Pro Series match number 3 on the day. And by the way, if you've been enjoying all of those clips of our new podcast that we've been playing over the breaks, make sure every time you guys are watching, there's a little QR code that pops up. Scan that, okay? The entire episode of that podcast is on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing start to finish. And Bobby, you got to be part of that. It seemed pretty cool. Seemed fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to kind of sit down and talk Call of Duty Mobile with the guys. It's something that we had done back in 2023 before Champs, and hadn't really had anything replicated like that in a while. So it was definitely a lot of fun, and hopefully we get a chance to do something else like that in the future too.
Yeah, the content that we've been putting up so far has been really, really cool. So I'm hoping you guys do more of that as well. But we have to start talking about our third and final match of the day. You guys watched both of them play earlier on in the day. ARP was up first, and then we just watched Stylum in match number 2. And now it is time for these two teams to face off and see who stays alive in the competition. Whoever loses is eliminated immediately, Brody. So this is for all the marbles.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just for not getting DFR'd, right? And I think this goes extra for ARP in particular because last season, Coldus and Chagaboo got DFR'd out of their group as well, and in a double 3-0 fashion. So they're hoping not to repeat history here. If they lose this match 3-0, I wouldn't be happy with that. I mean, you're never going to be happy with getting double 3-0'd, right? But in a situation where it's back-to-back seasons that happening, not so great. Nobody wants to lose in the first round of play, though. That's what the lower bracket's for. Second chances galore. Gotta make it through this match.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll pull up the picks and bans as well and see what we've got in store for the third match of the day. Anything new, surprising? Oh, yes. All right, Bobby, talk to me about this. I love this.
Crossfire is a map that I have not gotten to cast in years at this point, so I'm excited to see Crossfire control. I don't know if the players are excited for it because this is one that I think most teams have not practiced a whole lot, but I believe it was ARP in the end that actually opted to ban out Raid and instead play Crossfire. So I am very, very excited to see this one and see if this is the ace up the sleeve for them to give them an edge in the series.
Our teams are definitely going to be going out with a bang, so this is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see who the team that stays alive is, so let's just keep everything moving. Match number 3, getting right underway.
All right, we're hoping this isn't a 3-0. We've had 2 3-0s today. I want to see a Game 5 banger in a battle for survival. It would be fun. Hopefully these games are about to deliver. They've already delivered us Crossfire control, so they've met my expectations for happiness in this series already, and we are definitely going to see it. With that said, though, ARP and Stylum, once again, folks, they are battling for survival here. We've got a couple of repeats in this series, both of them search and destroys from the last. Of course, Coastal Search and Destroy, you guys just saw Stylum lose that. And then, of course, the Tunisia Search and Destroy, a couple of mistakes from ARP earlier on that made them lose that. So we'll see those Search and Destroys later on in this best of 5. ARP, though, want to have a good start to this game. I think you don't want to be underestimating Stylum. They had moments in that last series, Bobby, where they looked competent.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. I think going into this, you don't see a massive gap between these two teams just because of the amount of talent that you've got on that NA Falloffs roster. But ARP come out guns blazing in this one. You start to see more of the shotguns come out, especially here on P1 as things can get very, very mixy. And Chagaboo goes big time to hold off the push from that doorway. Looks like Cryzo going to be able to back things up there as well. And definitely maybe some of the more experienced reps on Arsenal coming into play as this was a 2023 Champs Hardpoint map. Now back into the Hardpoint rotation, and ARP looking very, very comfortable off the start.
Yeah, it's been a great hold from ARP. They've been keeping an eye on every single point of entry in and around this hill. Fiction, XT going for one last little hurrah towards this Hardpoint. Swish trying to hold on, and Ecstasy will deny. So that double will give scrap away to Stylum, but it's undeniable that was a solid start for ARP. And now as we look towards a rotation, Chagaboo comes out with surprise 2Ps. Nice positioning with the R9. Stylum were not ready for that whatsoever. Now we look towards Roto, though, and ARP's spawns might not be as secure as they would like. Stylum starting to get those back spawns through now, and ARP towards the hard point here, having to deal with players around the back.
As long as you can keep that top side ladder control, you're pretty comfortable with what you've got, and Chagaboo's going to be able to hop down to pick up some time. Stylum do a good job of responding even from those weak side spawns and winning those opening gunfights, so they're going to be able to close some of this gap. Kleinsita going to be able to score some streaks. And it looks like a Pred's actually been earned right here. So even with those weak side spawns, they do a phenomenal job of locking down this hard point. They've already gotten near 30 seconds on this one. Even if you lose the entirety of the rest of this one, you got to be happy with the way that things have gone. But they're looking to lock in a full 60.
Yeah, this is solid from Stylum. You talked about the fact that ARP will be fine and dandy if they have top ladder control. Even despite starting out with that, Stylum's still able to overwhelm here and are right back into this game. I was a little bit concerned when ARP got first look at rotation that we could be looking at an ARP blowout here, but first feelings have been well and truly battered away. Stylum now back into the conversation, and as a matter of fact, back in the lead, but we move it towards next. This is the hard point where you're going to start to see some of these operators come out to play. Chagabu trying to keep an eye on long. Couple of operators now for ARP invested. They want to make sure that Stylum are going headfirst down long, and as their only route of entry in towards this hill. Coldest is having none of it though. Kills galore here with the death machine, now finally running out of bullets, but where he dies, his teammate picks up. Yui now moving towards the hard point with the war machine. More kills and operators coming out from Stylum. Big investment made, but you haven't dealt with Coldest. Last player left alive. Finally, Coldest goes down, and Stylum have successfully broken through.
Yeah, that's not an easy break to find either, but Coldest is going to rain down the Pred. It's going to find 3. Doesn't find any value off of that Annihilator. More than likely will get the progress back, but Stylum, a phenomenal response right there. In worst case scenario, I think you're tied heading on over to P4. Graffito's got that early positioning. See what he does to deal with Chagabu as she's shut down right there. Unraveled looking to push through. His presence along with Swish has proved to be a big factor for this squad. It's just a question of, are they all firing on all cylinders at the same time? ARP early positioning does get shut down right here, and Chagabu taken out of that hard point just like that. Stylum has found an early break once again.
Stylum is continuing to do this right now. The way that they're playing as a team for these early breaks is insane. Now looking to follow up with the control. Big double coming through with the Tempest. Now get 3 from Graffito with that Tempest. 4 for Graffito, wiping ARP out, and they will continue to get this close spawn as well. So despite Tempest plays being made from Graffito, Stylum will need to continue to farm these guys, and they're doing exactly that. Chagabu, the only one to find some value, all the way down to his full silver HP. Only able to find 2 with the Sparrow. Is that enough to get ARP in towards the hill? No, it is not. Stylum are still holding on. One more player to contend with. Nice double from Coldest, who is actually probably have the best game of anybody across the board here so far on this one at 17 frags. It's going to obtain the back 10 seconds for ARP, but that was a good break from Stylum.
These are huge rotational kills for Unraveled as well as they make their way over to P5. Not going to be enough to take out that early setup from Stylum, but at least softens things a bit right here as Swish looks to push on in. And Coldest with that death machine is going to see what he can do, but he gets shut down. Fortunately for him, his teammates there to reinforce, and Coldest is going to look to drop this Pred missile. That's going to take down Fiction, but as that happens, they're taking off the point. Very, very back and forth here on P5 as Yuhi going to pop the war machine and does some opening damage. Klein Sita not going to be able to hold that heady, and ARP an opportunity to push back.
Stylum, once again, holding in crucial moments here in this game thus far. ARP, as you said, trying to break back through for the back 20 seconds. Cryzo finding a way through the jumper. Hasn't been spotted out just yet. Now is the time to activate. Also having help from a teammate around the back line as well. But Swish has now gone down. Unraveled towards the point will pick up Fiction. And that should be scrap time here for ARP. More to the point as well, those players could play a part in towards stopping Stylum from touching on Nu. That is exactly what's going to happen. Unravel is playing stopper on the funnel towards Nu, but Stylum approaching from a multitude of points of entry inside this hard point. Players through the windows. Swish will deal with both of those. The vent push is also shut down from ARP. Every single junction that Stylum could possibly have hit the hill from was denied.
And not surprised to see that equalizer pop from Swish. A lot of close range engagements right here. Finds one, and even though he's not getting the kills, he pretty much prevents anybody from pushing through, but finds the kills anyway. The Pred is earned. The pre-fire from Coldest through that doorway. Gonna find a couple of kills as well. And ARP picking up steam and doing so quickly. Coldest pops his death machine right here. Big time operator investment, but it has certainly paid off for ARP as they are back in the driver's seat in this one, and Coldest continues to pick up those kills.
Yeah, I would say ultimately the thing for me though, right, is albeit, you know, ARP, they get basically a full 60 off this hard point. They have to transition better in towards P2 because last time around, despite Chagaboot giving Stylum the shock of their lives on the rotation, Stylum were able to successfully rip the spawns back in their favor. Might not happen this time around though. Stylum first team to touch over by Nu. Predator missiles coming out from a couple of players now on ARP. This is a heavy investment of utility. ARP know this is the moment in the game where they could potentially blow the game wide open, but Fiction's having none of it. Couple of kills here with the equalizers. Now on the other side, Sparrow coming out from Chagaboot for 2 kills. That's the break for ARP. Stylum now starting to struggle.
And establishing that hardpoint control is so much easier to do when you've got operators and score streaks in your pocket. ARP used them to perfection right here as Unraveled still has an Annihilator in hand. Coldest continues to farm kills. He's on 34 already, and nobody from that Stylum roster has made their way past the 20 kill mark. Makes it that much more impressive that they've managed to stay in this one, but it looks like the gunny diff is starting to show itself a bit. Swish puts the moves on him right there. Stylum find the break, but with only 15 seconds remaining on this one, you gotta wonder, is it worth it?
Yeah, a lot of questions from me there for Stylum. I think, you kind of panic at this point in the game. You know that is a lot of time you've just given away to ARP, so you start to make a few sloppy decisions here and there. It can definitely snowball out of your control. That might be a moment we look back on at the end of this game if ARP are able to take away the victory. So far, so good, though. As far as getting control of the early hill here is... Dawn Flip. Is it being recognized by ARP? Yes, it is. Chagaboo is keeping an eye on the stairwell. Good for the first kill. Has a little bit of help for the second. Fiction able to double up. Surely not anymore. No Swish decides it's time to go ham with the equalizers. Will find frags. ARP now starting to turn this game up. Oh, that's huge for Swish. More kills. Surely not. Graffito will trade out, but the damage is done.
I mean, he is already looking like one of the most lethal equalizer players in North America. So many big plays out of him, and ARP continue to rack up time here on P3, now up 70 points. Slow start for them in this one, but they have certainly locked in, and despite a slow game from Cryzo, the rest of the team firing on all cylinders. Chagaboo will at least have 1 HP. No kill to be found, but only 10 seconds needed to close out this first map, and they are looking very, very comfortable in this one. Swish gonna throw down the smoke right there and see if that affords them enough breathing room to break on in. The operators do come out for Stylum, as it looks like they're gonna be able to ward off the initial push, but Yui's gotta go huge here with the War Machine.
Gotta find something. Yuki opens things up with the first couple of kills. On the other side, though, Cryzo not finding anything with his War Machine, gonna get shut down. Cryzo still technically speaking in the play. Yuhi decides to bring that Predator missile down. Off the back of it, you will now know where ARP is spawning. Cryzo still alive here with the War Machine, by the way. Finally gets shut down, but this is perfect for Stylum so far. Maybe one player, though, could break it wide open. Swish, completely unaware, will at the very least take one out of the play. Spawn Flip now starting to come through. ARP could get it done on the scrub time. 2 big kills for Unravel, and they could still finish things here as long as Stylum don't touch.
Shut down the later, but they on the point. Cryzo holding the line. One more player left to deal with. ARP shuts it down, and they take home map number 1. Slow start for them, but they bounce back in a big way. And obviously, Swish, one of the newcomers, playing a very big factor in that win.
Honestly, I'll go ahead and say, I know Swish's play, we'll get to that in just a second, was basically the thing I think that solidified it in the end. But on the whole, ARP turned it up a massive, massive notch going into the second set. P1 control was formidable. It was a massive investment. I think I want to say 2 or 3 operators coming out for ARP on that P1 in the second set. It was up to that point pretty much a 50-50 game. Very back and forth between Stylum and ARP. Stylum was taking a lot of time away from ARP, but this was the moment where ARP came flying back into the game. Double Predator missiles coming out from Coldest and Swish to ensure that they did get control of the rotation, and then this big play from Swish, tearing everybody a new one off the rotation. Chaining together 3 kills back to back like that is never going to be tenable for the opposition, and it most certainly was not for Stylum there. ARP starting this series strong, big way to end that hard point.
And just crazy, crazy stat lines for Coldest and Swish. 43 and 19 with 2 minutes. 37 and 22 with 2 minutes. They go massive right there and take a much needed opening map to, at the bare minimum, avoid getting double 3-0'd, which we talked was something that happened last challenge season to Chagaboo and Coldest. On the flip side, it's really impressive that Stylum was able to keep it close at all, given how big the kill gap was. I think the teamwork is there, but maybe a bit of a gun skill gap showed in that one. We'll see if they can make some adjustments as we get ready to head into the Search and Destroy.
I mean, honestly, it literally was just the second second set of hard points, where ARP just turned things up. So Stylum were competitive for half of that game, right? It just started to lose control for the second half. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie. What they might have, though, is a Tunisia search and destroy. Going back to ARP's last series, I think there were a few holes in the gameplay where ARP could definitely have tightened things up. And these guys at this level of Call of Duty Mobile will definitely know it as well. So they'll be going in with this one knowing that they can make a few changes and look a lot better for it, and not lose this time around. Off to start, aggression from ARP through the middle of the map. This is not a look that we saw from them in the first series earlier on today. As stun comes out from Ecstasy to try and put a stop to this one, and traded will come out from Cryzo. So ARP still with the numbers here. Graffito does not care. Snipes on towards Swish. Now 2 versus 3 as Unravel takes down Fiction, but the last remaining players on Stylum are split. Gotta see something huge, and that's quick scope from Yuhi is huge enough.
He's left in a 1v2 right here. Pretty split from the rest of these players. The nade goes over top. Not going to be enough to take out Cryzo, unfortunately for him. And the bomb's down right now, so he's going to look to make a wrap toward top winery right here, if I had to guess. But actually, he's picked up a sniper. Slides the corner looking for a pick, but that's not going to be afforded to him. But timing might go his way. Cryzo running out. I think he's got an audio cue to work with, and an opportunity is Chagaboo now into a 1v1.
You're fine with this. Yuhi's playing this perfectly, right? There's no reason to get over aggressive on towards Chaga. She has the pre-aim and is on the hunt for this kill. Chaga thinks this is a push through winery. That's not the case whatsoever. Now go back to the bomb because time's starting to dwindle here in this round. Yuhi's position is perfect. Not sure if Chaga's got the audio cue here. The push might be perfect. Checks mid. Yuhi has just got some COD timing, though, on the backside. Chaga goes for the push. Does she get some good timing here? Does she check the corner that Yuhi's been sitting in? Yes, she does. And there is the kill. Chaga had to check every single crevice of Tunisia search and destroy around the B site there. Will end up getting it done, but my oh my, butts were clenched.
And that was a great spot, but an even better read for a much-needed opening round for an ARP squad that had a very up-and-down Tunisia search and destroy. This time, a very different look as they full send it over here onto B. Chagaboo. Nade connects right there. They're going to be able to take that lower position, but still 2 players on height.
Yep.
Cryzo's going to be able to take down Ecstasy, so now it's on to Yuhi to find a pick right here, but he doesn't have any angle to work with. Coldest, I don't think, realizes that there's still a player on site. So Yuhi could still make something happen right here, but Finecita's going to be first point of contact, and that's a huge opener.
Yeah, there goes Yuhi. You need Yuhi still alive in this play. Would now have to be an ace from Finecita in this round. Is getting a really good look. This is so individual for ARP on the defense of this site. All of a sudden, what was a 1 versus 4 becomes a 1 versus 2. There is surely no way that Klein pulls this off. 15 seconds left. You have to up the ante somewhat. Klein has just got out towards the exit. He might be able to catch these players off guard. Shot straight in towards Chaga. One more player left to take. It's Unravel on the other side, but not able to pull a miracle off.
It's not over yet.
1 versus 4 denied. But ARP continue to make the defensive plays here on Tunisia look shaky.
Yeah, that was way closer than it needed to be. No question about it, especially when you know that where that one player is and only 1 point of exit with the amount of time that was left on the clock. They take the round regardless, and now up in a 2-0 lead right here. This time, a much slower approach from this ARP squad, looking for picks, trying to see if they can get Stylum to over-aggress. And nearly an opportunity for a snipe across mid, but they back things up. Looks like for the time being, Stylum will look to capitalize on the positioning they have here on the defensive side.
ARP just going to play this one slowly, and there's no real reason to get over aggressive here, even though you are on the offense. You've got time to work with here for the moment. Decision has been made, it would seem. ARP trying to get something going towards A. Certainly going to look in that direction at least. Defensive setup is relatively standard, so Unravel might be able to find something. Wasn't looking in the right direction, though. Graffito's going to take Unravel down. That makes things infinitely more awkward here for ARP.
Yuhi just patrolling this B site, but nobody really in position to challenge, but he's able to spot Chagaboo out of position right there. Just like that, the lives are equalized, making an advantage for Stylum. He does get traded out right here, but the damage has been done. Coldest tries to sneak on through, but he's going to get shut down, and that leaves Cryzo all alone in this one. Really left guessing and needs an absolute miracle right here. Only 20 seconds left. 4 players left to deal with. This round is all but over. His Fiction is going to be there to clean things up and take the first round for Stylum.
That's a very standard round of search and destroy. Feels like right out of 2024 Tunisia, if anything. ARP just could not get anything going on the offense. Stylum were not giving anything away for free. Trying to cash in some coupons, and they were bouncing. So Stylum, first round on the board here. Utility over the top towards A. Chrysos will connect on towards Graffito. That's a big player out of the side as well. Graffito has been a consistent problem on the defense towards site. Graffito being down. ARP know they can up the ante now, searching for the other player on the site. XT wins the fight. Trade is fine, though, if you're ARP, as long as you don't lose Chagaby. You do. You've also lost Coldest towards the middle of the map, and what was a really promising round here, now starting to crumble in front of ARP's eyes.
Chryso seeing if he can regain something from here. Once again, no real idea of what they're working against, as the bomb does get picked up by Unravel right here, looking to plant. And Stylum seemed to be very, very content to play for the retake. First point of contact going to be everything right here. Kleinseed is able to do some damage, so now Unravel doesn't want to overextend. Yuhi pushes up. Kleinseed finds one. All down to Chryso. He's got to make it a 1v3. Finds 2 right there. An opportunity, but Fiction cleans things up. And now 2 rounds in a row go the way of Stylum as they tie things up here 2-2.
I felt like Raven Simone for a second there, mate. I had a vision of the future. Chryso was going to pull off that 1 versus 3. Just a little bit better of a slide away, and there's a chance for Chryso to pull something off that he should never be able to do. Denied, though. 2-2 now in this search and destroy. Stylum starting to get something to work. ARP, offense once again. This is the same look that we saw back in round number 1. Aggression through the middle of the map. Fiction will respond. Why are we hitting the reload almost into a gunfight? Fiction gets basically a freebie off that play, and now ARP is stuck in the middle of the map.
Yeah, and they've got to take a risk one way or another to try to get out of this position that they've built. Unravel an opportunity to find a pick right here, but no overextension from Stylum, and now kind of left guessing as to the position of those remaining players. Unravel's still looking for any piece of information he could finally find, but nothing really to be gained right now, and it looks like they're finally going to push into this B site to see if they can find something that is absolutely crucial from Unravel to find 1. Wish he could have had 2, but at least the opening damage has been done to be able to get that bomb down.
Yeah, you've lost Coldest on the cut, though, so now this is a good old honest 3 versus 3. At the very least, he's finally been dealt with towards the back line, but more damage still to be on. Chryso, don't get over-aggressive here. No need for it. Currently just throwing some wide shoulders against Graffito. You've lost XT on the cut now. Flanking play for Klein has to be everything in this moment. Unravel is watching it like a hawk. Has to hope you get some good timing. You've lost Graffito on the other side. Klein will get that timing, though. Brings us down to a 1 versus 2. Now 1 versus 1. Chryso picked off. You know where Chaga's generally speaking going to be. The check from Klein is here, as is the kill. It's a 1 versus 3 for Klein.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely massive for Stylum as they now take 3 rounds in a row. If you're ARP, that's a round that you have got to close out. And that 1 game lead, that 1 map lead, not looking quite as comfortable anymore. As Stylum have come storming back in this one and have certainly built some momentum for themselves in a round that certainly seemed very easy to close out for ARP. Graffito, sniper in hand, looking for first point of contact over here on the A site, and it looks like they're getting ready to full send it. An absolute bloodbath about to ensue right here. Chagabu's going to be able to find the 2 to open.
Yeah, this round's done. This round's done already. Although we did just see a 1 versus 3, so...
Yeah, I was going to say...
Maybe? Yeah, never mind.
There we go.
All he's going to get, ARP. That is probably the most ARP round of them all so far. Like, actually playing how they should in Search and Destroy. Getting super duper aggressive, clearing out the A site with ease. Big defensive round win. Although it should be said, we have been here before, because if you remember last time around, ARP also looked strong on the offense before then going on to lose Tunisia Search and Destroy. So I don't want to count the chickens before we're hatched here.
Oh, Unravel! We've seen that before in this exact same spot. Finds the Colette. and gets the information to his team. He picks off another one right there, leaves Ecstasy all alone. Especially with the bomb down right here, it would take a complete blunder from ARP to lose the round. They're not going to let it happen this time around. Unravel, a 3-piece for him as ARP get off to a hot start here on the defensive side.
That's huge from Unravel, and it's worth saying again, you know, last series we saw this from ARP versus OnMythic. Unravel popped off for a couple of rounds on the defense. He can do that consistently, keep B on lock. Stylum will not have a way in towards that site, and it will become a very one-dimensional offense from Stylum. Fundamentals have to be locked down for ARP, and it feels like that's the case so far. Everybody keeping an eye on every single entry point here, nobody getting over-aggressive. Stylum have to be the ones to make the first move. Just don't get over-aggressive here. Don't do something silly, ARP.
Looks like one player going to extend to top winery. Just looking for information, and the longer this goes on, the more it favors ARP. Unfortunately for them, Chagu is going to get picked by Yuhi off the opening right there, so now a little bit of an opportunity for them to make their way forward. Nades go over the top, but are met by trophy systems. Once again, still got to deal with that one-player top winery. It's Swish that's going to be first point of contact for whoever pushes, but Cold is going to find one, another for Swish, and only 2 players remain right here, but trades are found for Stylum. Unravel an opportunity to take the advantage, but now he's left all alone. And unfortunately for him, Yui does not peek his way. This just became much more difficult for ARP, and with the bomb going down right here, he's going to have to single-handedly 1v2. Opening pick's not there.
That was a big kill from Klein towards Swish. Unravel, as you said, has to have transitioned towards B for the 1 versus 2. Looking to split the difference between these 2 players. Chal across from Yuhi is good. The comm should be made. The snipe from Unravel also not there. No need to push. Unravel somehow afforded the space for the first kill. Gonna get away. Now looking for the snipe on towards Yuhi. It is a sniper versus sniper battle. Unravel trying to win it, but Yuhi comes out on top. Stylum making it happen right now. Offensive win, and Yuhi goes huge.
Maybe a little bit of an ego right there. Felt really confident in the read, and unfortunately does not go his way. These 2 teams continually trading rounds as we've seen really phenomenal adjustments on both sides. This time Stylum going to make the push on over to the B side, at least send 1 player forward to try to get some information. The bomb's still over on the A side. Unravel not able to connect for the wall bang right there. It's once again a pretty slow start to the round as Stylum really trying to get a feel right here, and Chagaboo making an adjustment to not peek toward mid on that opening side, trying not to make anything too easy for the snipers to open things up.
And the comms should be there. I was going to say that these players have crossed. Cryzo wasn't aware of it whatsoever, so Stylum get a freebie. Starting to crack this Sega. Stylum here in Search and Destroy. ARP have to hold strong on A. Swish is the key player, if anything, here. Coldest can get 1 on the exit, but Swish has to react. Was not able to before. Him going down to Klein was what lost them the last round. Stylum are going to hit this eventually. 50 seconds left. This hit's coming sooner rather than later, but they're taking their time with it, trying to garner all information before making the jump on towards the point. Couple of players coming through the middle of the map. If Chaga can find some value here, this push will fall apart.
It looks like they're all trying to collapse at one time, but just looking for that point of contact and can't manage to find anything. They're going to send it. Coldest shuts down 1, gets eyes onto another, pushing on through. Chagaboo's going to be able to find the kill, and they get ripped to shreds. Swish, Unravel, finds 2 to close it out, and with the man advantage, Stylum cannot manage a single thing. Huge round for ARP, Cryzo, and Unravel, now 10 kills apiece.
It has to be said, that was a massive error from Stylum. It has to be said. I mean, you literally, all you got to do is just 2v1 Chagger in the middle cut. Work out trades from there on out, and they all just flop on their 1 versus 1s. That 2 versus 1 doesn't happen at all. Stylum will be regretting that for sure, because now they're back to the same problem that's kind of concerned them the entire time here on offense. Unlike ARP, where they were very certain of their pushes, Stylum have looked so uncertain. They have been playing so slow comparatively, trying to edge out any kind of first blood before making any kind of move. And that's not really a viable strategy. Unravel, if you can pick up one of these kills here, this round might well already be over for Stylum.
He's just praying for a wallbang to connect. He's really the anchor for this team over on the B side. Not going to find any information right there. Bomb is going to wrap back toward mid here. And once again, usually all pressure onto Chagabu to find that first kill, but it's Swish that's actually swapped places. It looks like everybody for Stylum going to look to flood through mid right here. You cannot afford to give up anybody. Swish going to back up right here, looking for reinforcements. That's giving them all the information that they need. Now, completely trapped is Stylum, and I don't know why you're pushing forward. You've got them exactly where you need them. Chagabu's going to be able to find one, but you've given away that life advantage.
And now you've got a lot for Coldest to do here. Has to look over towards the cut. Graffiti will take that all day long, and that's going to be a kill now, and bomb site control for Stylum. If you guys ever knew how to chuck search and destroy rounds, if you wanted to know, just look at that mid push from ARP. I don't know what that was. That was so cool.
There's no reason to push forward. You got the whole team locked in one spot. You run through single file to hand away the lives. Oh, man, that's tough.
Now you got to see a miracle for ARP here. 2 versus 4. Time to dwindle down in this round. 25 seconds. Peek from Yuki. That's information garnered. Chagabu's going to go for the chow. Should get chowed from the right. Absolutely the case here. Great team play from Stylum. Fundamental Call of Duty for Stylum. And when you get offered up 3 kills, I mean, you're not going to say no, I guess. ARP, why is Tunisia a bad map for you guys?
I don't know what's going on right now, but it's certainly making for an entertaining game. We'll see what ARP can do here to make adjustments-wise. Naturally, Unravel all alone over on the B side, and it's going to be a full send over to A, this time for Stylum. Full committing through. 1 kill for Swish. Make it 2 right there. Damage has been done. Yuhi's going to be able to find 1 in response, but Kryzo is there, and 1 by 1 they fall. Fiction and Yuhi left, as Unravel is going to make that wrap back toward the A side. Bomb still not in a plantable position. Swish gets info, finds a kill right there, and now all down to Yuhi for the 1v3.
Just looking for somebody to hit the cross hit. Yuhi will take the kill. Yuhi does have time to work with, so just looking for some kind of over-aggression to at least make this more palatable. ARP aren't going to give it away. This time, learning not to get over-aggressive, it would seem. Yuhi does have the bomb in hand, so if he so chooses, could go over towards B. But I think it's the problem at the back of his mind that he thinks as soon as he's going to turn around, somebody from ARP is going to go on the chase. So just going to go hit A, potentially, maybe on the vibes that ARP will have rotated towards B. That's not the case. Unravel was sitting there waiting. Big round for ARP. That was a stellar execute on the defense.
Seems like he's kind of playing mind games with himself and overcomplicated things. Now Stylum in need of a round to force overtime right here. They force going down 2-0. And that would be going into the map pick for ARP as well, heading into that control. This time a little bit more presence over toward the B side as one player has made their way up through mid. Unravel still looking for one of those picks over on the B side and nearly connects through the wall right there. One more shot. Could have potentially had it, but once again, 30 seconds in, yet to see any first bloods. This time, a little bit more presence over toward that B side, and Unravel at least has the information. Question is, does he want to stick around? And Swish is there to reinforce, so they can fight this if they want. More than likely, we'll see Stylum back up off this, as these 2 players are completely isolated, and the bomb could not be in a worse spot.
Stylum again, it's the same kind of thing as early on here for the offense for Stylum. They just do not want to make the move. And for good reason, to be fair. They would, technically speaking, be in a 2 versus 3 in the situation. I think that was a smoke down from Ecstasy to try and escape. So the call has been made. Stylum now on the transition towards A. ARP have read it, though. They are making the necessary adjustments. Target be ready for the jump down from Winery. A Stylum double blinding here? I think they've just double focused perfectly. Stylum smoke down gives the impression that it's going to be an A push, but instead now they are fully committed towards the site. There's the confirmation that ARP have fully given up the site. And to be honest, I will say this is a defensive error. There is no reason for all 5 players for ARP to be transitioning towards A.
Yeah, that was a major overcommit off of not really any information outside of one util throw. So now all the pressure onto these guys to try to retake here. The machine pistol finds one, and that's absolutely crucial for Unravel. Unfortunately, teammates not going to find the trades, at least not initially, but Coldest is there, as is Cryzo. Kleincita trapped behind the wall, going to be able to find one, and it's all on to Coldest. 1v2 to close out the game right here. 15 seconds, spots one over top of the heady, but can't quite connect. He's going to get shut down, and to overtime we go.
And again, ARP just continue to make errors. It's a bit of a 50-50 thing, right? With Stylum, they did make a cool play. Like, really well played from Stylum there on the offense. But for ARP, probably could have played that just a little bit better. In the end, now we're going to be seeing overtime from ARP. 6-6 now in this search and destroy. Now it is ARP who look like they're stalling somewhat on offense. This is the same kind of play that we were seeing from Stylum, right, on the offense, where it's just like, comparatively to what we were seeing from ARP on their offensive rounds, where they seem so much more certain, I think now ARP definitely have kind of had a knock to the confidence after that last round.
It's a pretty similar defensive setup out of Stylum to what we saw from ARP in the majority of those rounds. Got Yuhi with the sniper locking down B, one player tucked in on that left side. Once again, the longer this goes on, the more it favors ARP, or the more it favors Stylum, forcing ARP to commit to something right here. Coldest, not quite close enough on that nade to connect. Still looking for any shred of information that they can find. Absolutely none to be found right here, as at some point or another, they're going to have to commit.
You can't just sit here. You got 45 seconds. Like, Stylum aren't going to get over aggressive. They are not going to make such an error. Gotta go. 5 seconds on the clock now. Nade over the top towards the car. It should connect. No, it doesn't. Bounces off the wall. That's so unfortunate. XT will remain unfazed. If anything, that nade being over the top now is going to be the information with 25 seconds left. But the kit is incoming. Kleincita going to make one player up top weak. That should be good enough for the trade. Yeah, nicely done. Stylum playing this one to perfection. Unravel here for a 1 versus 4. Almost get to collapse towards Klein and Fiction, but that's going to be denied. And ARP just spend way too much time in the waiting room on that round.
It just didn't look like there was any game plan. We're praying for a mistake from the other team, and Stylum were not about to make the same mistakes that ARP were. So now you flip back on over to the defensive side and pray that you can execute here. Looks like a very aggressive A push, which is uncharacteristic from the offense that we saw from Stylum. They don't actually opt to full send it on through, but the nades do go over top. Not going to connect right here. Is what looked initially to be an aggressive play is actually going to stall out a bit here over on the A side. And this time Unraveled going to stay at home, so not going to overextend and throw all your resources at the A side. You stay at home and pressure onto Coldest to find those opening kills if they decide to peek out top winery.
Stylum are the ones with a bit of shaky leg at the moment. Half of the course for them, but they always seem to manage to pull the rabbit out of the hat in the closing moments of the search and destroy offense, so I'm not particularly concerned by them. Especially because ARP have had a habit, particularly bad one in this search and destroy, of playing way too silly at moments. Opening snipe, like, we're opening snipes on towards a point, and Swish is like, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm not going to take the chow. I'm just going to reposition towards the mid-cart and weaken things on the defense. You are very, very fortunate here that Stylum haven't committed to that push.
35 seconds right here. Stylum are now the team that have to make a move. Shaggy was actually going to back up at what could be a perfect time and definitely gets eyes. Once again, why do you need to chow that? Give away a life right there. Cryzo's now got to back up. They're going to full flood through B. Still 2 players here to defend. You gotta go fast. And with only 15 seconds, a lot of high ground area to check. It's not gonna be easy. Unravel takes down one player, sliding out, takes down another. You gotta think that's most of the damage that you needed to do. Cryzo's there to reinforce, and they don't even have enough time to get the bomb down. It seems like ARP have done what was needed to force some more OT right here. Now tied 7-7.
tell you what, if I'm ARP here, if I'm Chagger in the middle of the map, I'm buying Unravel a premium ticket, like a massage or something. He needs something for sure, because ARP almost just sold that round. Unravel will clutch up 17 kills in this search and destroy as we are deep into overtime now. First blood looking pretty good for Coldest. This is so much more persuasive from ARP. This is the decisive play I wanted to see. But once again, big problem for them has been clearing out this back high area. Yuhi now pushed out, so ARP finally solidifying control of the bomb site.
That gives them so much more breathing room. They saw one player peek mid. He's going to drop right there. Get traded, but you're perfectly fine with that. You've got this established position in a 4v2. Could not be feeling any more comfortable. Kleinseed got to be perfect right here, and Chryso is just not giving anything easy. ARP, much more decisive there on the offensive side. And now heading into a defense where when mistakes are not made, they have looked pretty strong. We'll see if they can find a way to close things out.
It's just when ARP actually decide to be decisive. That's when things go their way. This is a heavy commitment, by the way, on towards A for ARP on the defense. They are fully focused on the fact that Unravel can solo hold on towards B. Chryso, brilliant first blood on towards Yuhi. For Stylum now, spinning the wheels a little bit. They have to commit towards this push. Nade not going to be helpful. You can see that one on the minimap from Klein. That didn't go the way he wanted whatsoever. Maybe the second one will. No trophy system going to stop it. Stylum is still committed to this one. Time really starting to be burned on the clock here.
And the thing is, Stylum kind of tried to emulate that aggression that you saw from ARP, but not enough to find a first blood. They do find one onto Chryso right there. But Chagabu's now picked up the sniper. And looking to catch him off guard, hitting the rat back toward B. But once again, Unravel's going to stay home. He's got 18 kills. He and Chryso, 33 combined, have been so huge for this ARP squad. He should have that opening information, so we'll see if they make the wrap. Finds one onto Ecstasy, and that's all they needed from him. Anything else here is bonus. It looks like they're all going to flood down to that lower angle. It puts him in a tough spot. He gets taken down, but they get the information. Unfortunately, Kleinseed there, able to find two. And now into a 2v3. They should have that real estate to take the bomb down, but Chagabu makes her way through. She takes down one, spots out another. Fiction looking for the kill. It's going to be there, and Stylum force more overtime.
I don't even know what to say. How does this keep on happening? AR had that in the bag.
Oh, man.
I don't even know what to say. Oh, goodness me. All right, ARP, time to do it again. You sent it last time. Same kind of aggression off the rip this time. Nade through the cut. Will tag Unravel, so he'll have to stay out of the play for a moment here. Aggression, actually, I think, has been totally slowed up because of that. Stylum have been successful at the start of this round. Chryso should have just got information. The call will be made now. Swish is going to try and act on that, but right on towards the open. Makes himself a little bit weak now. Trades in favor of ARP. One more player down low. You take that player out. Now all you've got to do is keep the players transitioning from B to A away from said site. Once again, the fundamentals on these offensive pushes are great from ARP.
It's a little bit shocking that it's taken this long for ARP to figure out that they're so much better whenever they play aggressive. Really, wherever they play, because when they play for picks, they just don't find them. But finding success back-to-back rounds of the offensive side with a decisive commit, and they take the lead once again. The question is, can they execute on the defense? So many mistakes at so many turns. Once again, the setups have not been bad. It's really been all about the responses. One player already slides on into sight. Chagabu's going to find one. Not able to get away, but the damage has been done. Swish. 1 HP right there is Graffito, and he's going to be able to find two. So now into a 2v2 we go. Bomb is still in hand for Stylum. Not going to opt to go for the plant yet. Information is there for ARP, but these two players are very split.
What? XT gets an easy dead from Unravel. Yuhi now 1 versus 2. Good for the first, not good for the second. Chryso will close out a very long search and destroy. It is finally over in overtime. Dude, I didn't know there were so many members of the Chuckle Brothers in a single game of Call of Duty. This entire game was wild, and for all the wrong reasons. come on. It's just like so many times that search and destroy could have been over. I think we might be in for like the longest replay package in Call of Duty Mobile history here. I mean, I know there's been longer over time, but oh man, what a headache of a search and destroy there.
It really was.
So many different moments there. I mean, there's so many awesome moments, right? We have Unravel with that little two-piece, the little collat early on in the game, but just both of these teams had their moments. So we're like, you know what? We're just going to turn our brains off for a moment and hope for the best.
It really just felt like every single round went down to like a 1v1, a 1v2, and it was enough to go down to 19, 20 rounds, whatever it was right there. Fortunately for ARP, they put themselves in a really good position to be up 2-0 in this series, and now heading into their control map pick. It is Crossfire. This is going to be new for a lot of you. It's new for me. I have not had the opportunity to commentate this yet, so I am very excited to see. I saw one map that Tectonic scrimmed on it and posted it on YouTube, and that's all the information that I have on it. So curious to see what these guys are bringing to the table, but based on the way that series has gone so far, we know at the bare minimum that Stylum's going to make it fun.
Yeah, I've seen this played twice in Europe, so your mileage may vary on how you want to take it because it was European Call of Duty Mobile. And it was actually the Special Suicide Squad, if I remember the name correctly, that managed to take it both times around. So they look like pretty proficient on crossfire control. And just from what I was seeing from them, it feels like there are real opportunities on crossfire control. As long as you can get out of the offensive spawn trap, because that's a big if. If you get put in that, there's no getting out of it. As long as you can get out of that, there's real opportunity on crossfires of all the different kind of lanes, all the different kind of crevices that you can sit in to really surprise teams on the defense and make serious gains on these offensive points, especially around the A zone. Like, it's actually, I mean, again, first impressions, it could well change, especially as we go further and further in these tournaments. We look at more kind of higher level Call of Duty Mobile. Maybe this isn't the case, but from first impressions of casting a couple of maps of crossfire control, it seems like there is a potential to get control of the A zone on the offense. Again, the kind of contingent here is that you can't get spawn trapped, because if you get spawn trapped, it's done. Like, the static spawns are wild on this map. Going to be interesting to watch for sure, especially with the way that the snipers have dominated a lot of this series so far, especially in the search and destroy. I mean, Crossfire has always been a very heavily sniper dominated map, so expect to see those coming out. Naturally, Unravel, with the way he was playing in that search and destroy, I would be shocked if he wasn't rocking a sniper. We'll see what they can do here on the defensive side to get things started, and Unravel's going to find two. That's a huge pick to open up, and just like that, they've gotten onto that first offensive zone. Serge, you can definitely get something going here on the offense. ARP showing out right now. Stylum, they surely haven't given up already. Cross being watched from Unravel. I don't think you can even get towards the point. Graffito will do so for one, but no more than that. A second tick through here. Chaga now the player to keep these guys on the defense at bay. Can anybody from Stylum touch in time? I don't think they're going to. A is done. Wolf. ARP, that is a confident start with both Chaga on the R9 and the snipes coming out from Unravel. That's a great hold of that point.
When his shots are landing like that, there's not a whole lot that you can do, especially when he's in a heady, tucked away in the back of the map. There's no gun that's going to be able to take him off that position. So now the question is, can they find that real estate to push forward? And really, the big task has already been done, because worst case scenario, you get an entire zone locked in, and that's what you needed to do to give yourself, if it goes to around 5, to have that defensive side locked in. Unravel's going to drop the pred. That gives them the information. Chagaboo now pushes up, and now they've got an opportunity to get some time here on B. And oh my gosh, do they drop by like flies. Stylum only 5 kills so far in this one.
Hello? I mean, surely this isn't an offensive win in round number 1 from ARP. It seems like they might not be that proficient at search and destroy, but their crossfire control might well be on lock at the moment. Second tick now through on towards B. Smoke down is going to give Stylum away back in towards the point. Chagaboot will keep them contested for the moment. We will hit ourselves a momentary pause here. 8 versus 21. Stylum definitely up against it. 90 seconds on the clock as well, so ARP will have a multitude of different hits, but they can't really afford to take their time. That's what I don't want to see them do in this situation. Just hit it, because you're in a 21v7. Like, at worst, you're going to trade out for those kills.
Yeah, and the only way that Stylum manages to win this is if they get far enough forward to actually spawn trap. Because if you're fighting 1v1s, on this zone with the way this has gone so far, you don't stand a realistic chance. It's 4v18 right here. It's going to take a miracle. And right now, you want to avoid those operators charging if at all possible. Unravel, I still don't think has died. He earns an EMP system right there. And now 2v17. It is an offensive round win on Crossfire. That does not bode well for Stylum. Brody? All right. We've lost Brody. I thought he was just shocked at what we had just witnessed. I wasn't sure what we were doing right there. We got the death machines coming out for Coldest right here. Seeing what he can find. One player right around the corner. The timing on that pre-fire could not have been worse, but fortunately for him, teammate is there to do some of the remaining damage. Chagaboo, Hunter Killer goes on out. And she's going to slide through for another. The operators raining down kills. And that spawn trap, if it ensues, could get ugly. Kryzo only 3 kills on the board. But he's got a war machine to work with. Not going to be able to find more than one. Still a glimmer of hope for Stylum. You got to keep in mind, offense. Absolutely no question the weak side between the two here on Crossfire control. ARP still have a lot of work to do to take down these lives, but they've done a phenomenal job of mitigating any factor for the clock. And now only 40 seconds for Stylum to get back into this one. 3 kills do open up that B zone and should be able to get some early time here with the map control that they've got. Should be able to get that locked in. Equalizer's out for Fiction. Not going to be able to find anything more than that. Great response from Kryzo is... Once again, ARP very, very content to let them come to the B zone. See if they can get them to overextend. Unravel. He's got an operator ready to go, as does Chagaboo. You got 4 ready to go if you're Stylum, and especially given the position that you're in, you desperately need to win a round right here. So I would not be surprised to see those start to come out. Graffito gonna pop the Tempest right here. He's able to find 2, and that could be the opening that they're looking for. Unravel is on 13. He might be working on a nuke. I didn't realize he still had not died yet. He's going to go ahead and pop the Annihilator right here. That gives them the information, and the streak will finally end. 9v9. Yuhi doing everything that he can to keep things locked down right here as the Pred drops from above. Or maybe that was just the Pred being earned. No, he does drop it. Not going to be able to get any kills off of it. And hopefully he at least did the work of scoping out the landscape and figuring out where those players were. Now a 3 life differential between the two, and Stylum desperately need to find a way to win this one, but Swish shots connect across the map. The 3 life advantage right here. Pred in hand. Stylum down now 2-5. It's going to take a miracle for them to win this one. Just too many high ground positions. 1 player left, Yuhi. 1v4 right here. The boxing gloves are out. Able to find 1. Shotgun is in hand, but he's shut down, and now ARP up 2-0 in the series. Up 2-0 now here in the control. All right. I don't know if Lauren's going to cast, but otherwise I'm going to keep solo casting it right here. We got ARP making their way over toward that B, or rather A objective early on. We do see the death machine coming out. And really, Stylum have not tried to do anything to prevent that opening push over there. Finally, a response as they take down a couple players, but still Swish locking in time right here. We do, for the first time, see a life lead for Stylum. And finally, a contest here as well, as Swish has 1 player to deal with. Maybe a little prone block right there. Couldn't quite handle the movement. And for the first time, Stylum, a glimmer of hope here. I believe Brody is back. Brody is not back. Kleinseeda locking down that A objective. Stylum trying to maintain this life lead as long as possible. Swish is going all the way into spawns, and now Brody's back.
I apologize for that. We will go over what just happened to me in a minute. Regardless, I'm back. The internet tried to take me away from you. It's all good. Apparently, I missed ARP winning the second round, mate.
You did. It was not quite as convincing as I expected, but they were able to handle business like we would have expected. This time around, Stylum actually showing a little bit of fight here, as they do manage to take a 5-life lead here on the defensive side.
All right, ARP now. Down by 5 lives here in this game. Here in this round, excuse me, 25 seconds on the board for them to do something in this situation. Still a streak on board for Kryzo if he wants to use it. With 19 seconds left, they will be stopping the clock over by A. KRM plays potentially on the cards here. On the other side, Graffito and Fiction just try and hold on towards the point. Swish has the coverage of the wall, though, so at the very least we'll be able to take some time off the boards here. They might well be able to capture A. With the life differential, though, I don't think it really matters all that much. Fiction and Yuji combine for 3. Yuji will actually find another one here. And for this, I think the round will be done. Yuji just doing tricks on it towards the end of the round. 4 kills to close out the round. Finally, something from Stylum.
Definitely much needed, but now you got to flip things around and do it on the offense. They've got 3 operators. Make it 4 operators charge. You got a streak to work with. Definitely not impossible, but highly improbable with the way that we've seen most of these offensive rounds go. And ARP, very heavy presence over on the A side. 1 player taken down early. Fred's there if they want it, and Kryzo's going to pop that War Machine. Does get taken down, but finds the postmortem, and Kryzo drops that Fred to try to find the information. Finds 1 onto Fiction. ARP only a 1-life lead here on the defensive side. Coldest does pick up 1. 1 player left to deal with, but he's not able to do it.
This is actually pretty good from Stylum. Keeping themselves in the conversation here. Spawn trap not just yet. So it would have been nice if Swish could have found that kill on towards Yuji. It would have kept those 2 players in the spawn trap. But now Stylum are out. Fiction is piecing up on towards the point here. They don't just want A. They want the transition towards B as well. Fiction down for the count. Cold is responsible for that. Owing to the fact that the death machine is in play. Still in play as well, it has to be said. ARP, they want to make sure that Stylum do not cross successfully towards B. For the most part, they have done that. Only 1 player is able to get anywhere close. That is Yuki. Given the fact that he's down in lives here, down in HP, I think that Stylum or ARP know about it. Unravel towards the spawn. Now starting to get these guys in the spawn trap with those static spawns. ARP now pushing the advantage, and they had lost a lot of map control off of that A capture. They've now regained it.
Yep, they continue to move forward. Now the streaks start to go out. That's going to be a double kill as Chagabu finds 2. And Fiction trying to force his way forward, but they don't have a whole lot of lives to do it with. Coldest Hunter Killer finds another 2 as well. And this may be the end of the line for Stylum. Only 2 lives remain. They need a miracle, and it's not there to be found. ARP keep their hopes alive in the Snapdragon Pro Series.
Yeah, congratulations to ARP. They will be moving forward. That round number 1 was so damaging to Stylum. I said it, you can make these offensive rounds work here on control, on crossfire. I mean, just forehead comment of the day. As long as you don't get spawn trap, right? It's that spawn trap once you're in that blender. As we saw in that final round, there is no getting out of it, but it was a solid start for ARP in this control. Just completely dominant round number 1. They did everything right as far as keeping control in the middle of the map. I actually really love that setup, both from Unravel and Chagabu, as A was being captured from ARP. It's probably the best setup I've seen so far on offense hit towards A. Granted, I haven't seen that much crossfire control this season just yet, but still, phenomenal play from ARP. Of course, they just about won the defense in round number 2. Totally saw all of that. And in round number 3, Stylum had something of note to say. Kept themselves in the conversation, but only for a brief moment. Clean 3-0 for ARP. Looked really solid in the control and in the hard point. The search and destroy, we'll have a longer conversation about that once the broadcast ends.
Yeah, huge credit to Unravel. He had, I think a 13 gun spree, which is absolutely absurd at this level of competition to start things off right there. And that was a big reason they won that opening offensive round. So his addition has definitely factored in heavily to their ability to stay alive in this competition, and excited to see what they can do in the later rounds.
I should have stepped in. I'm sorry, Bobby. I should have done it. It was my moment.
All good. We held things down. We're chilling.
Great job on that final matchup there. And ARP in another 3-0 on the day, stay alive in that lower bracket. So commiserations to Stylum at the end of the day, but we must move forward with our challenge season here for North America, which means ARP get a little bit of a break now, because now that we have wrapped up Group B, we're going to go back to Group A. And technically Group B, because next time we see each other, guys, we're actually doing both of our upper bracket matches. So first, we will see what Group A brings to the table. And at that point, they will have had 2 weeks to reassess and get themselves situated, see what they want to do. And then we'll go back to Group B upper bracket and see how this OnMythic versus NA Falloffs matchup plays out here, Brody.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. We're going to get a chance to see kind of a look at both of these groups, right? And I'm kind of looking forward to it because I think specifically for both, for Group A, I think looking over towards Undream and Zitl Alex, right? I think we kind of all expect Undream to come out on top of that matchup. They are, I think for all of us, I want to say like the #1 team in North America this season, just at least on paper, the way they dispatched of Rebels. I think Zitl Alex will definitely have to put their homework in to see if they can win that one. And then, of course, over towards Group B as well. That OnMythic versus NA Falloffs matchup, I think it's going to be interesting because it's going to come down to me for like who is actually, how much of the NA Falloffs roster are we going to get in that matchup? Are we going to get them putting all the effort in, making sure they actually do the work on OnMythic? Because I think if they don't, OnMythic could actually catch them off guard.
And of course, that also means that the matches that we're watching next week are both qualification matches. So whoever wins will be snagging some of those spots in the challenge finals, and whichever team loses is not out of the competition. They'll just drop down into that lower bracket to be facing off against whichever of those respective teams is waiting for them down there, whether that is Nexus or ARP. So that's going to be really, really fun because that means we're going to start pushing these teams through to prepare for April for our challenge finals. Bobby, fantastic job here today. Now that we've gotten through our 3 matches, what are your thoughts after 2 weeks of NA?
I'm pleasantly surprised. I think we have a lot more contenders than I expected. I think especially OnMythic. I was not prepared for what they were bringing to the table, and I'm now very excited to see them go up against NA's Falloffs because they, once again, are a bit of a question mark. How much work are they going to put in? They got the gun skill, but OnMythic looked very, very strong this week, and I'm excited to see what they can do against the rest of the competition.
Suffice to say, for everybody at home, you need to be tuning back in next week to see what happens with these matchups. If you're unable to make it or you missed most of today or last week, or you just want to keep up with everything that we've got going on throughout the year, follow us on social media, whether that's X, Insta, or Facebook. That way you can keep yourselves up to date with everything that we've got going on, whether that's here or in the other regions, or you can join our Discord at discord.gg/Snapdragon Pro Series and hang out with our community and talk all things COD Mobile. But believe it or not, we are done for today. We're done with week 2 of our challenge season in North America. I cannot believe how quickly it is flying by, but that means next time we see each other, we'll start qualifying teams through to our challenge finals, and things are only going to get more exciting from here. So congratulations to ARP for staying alive in that lower bracket, and we'll see what our teams on the upper side in both groups are able to do next time around. As always, a huge thank you to Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force for helping us make this whole thing possible. And thank you to all of you at home for hanging out with us and watching. We'll see you next week.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, DHL, and the United States Air Force.